nation with the singing of our national anthem.
for Washington. Pass for Williams. He got it. To the end zone, leaping catch, touchdown.
You're looking live at a raucous crowd at the Civic Arena in downtown St. Joseph, Missouri. Year 2 at the St. Joseph Goats and the Arena League have called home as we get ready for another matchup of two teams in the Show Me State between the St. Joseph Goats and the Ozark Lunkers. Welcome into the broadcast booth, Dylan Funk, alongside my broadcast partner, Aaron Feely. Let's talk about this Lunkers team, Aaron. Coming off a win last week. Both teams coming off wins last week. But this Lunkers squad, 2 years now in the Arena League, fresh off a win in year 3 so far. Back-to-back appearances in the semifinal game. Haven't been able to get over the hump, get through to that championship game. But this squad, they're reloaded, and they're ready to rock and roll, try to make it all the way to the promised land.
That they have. They have had that little bit of a playoff hurdle, like you just mentioned. They start off this year with what almost might have felt like something of a tune-up game against Eau Claire, who obviously had struggles last year as an expansion team. And then Ozarks kind of had some struggles last week against Eau Claire. They get the victory, but there were some gifts in that game. Obviously, 18 penalties called against Eau Claire, though that's a bit ridiculous on that point. Ozarks, though, they took advantage when they had the opportunity to do so. They created 6 takeaways. Eau Claire, some of them might have been giveaways, but it is what it is. They took advantage. They got the touchdowns. They put points on the board. And now obviously coming in, trying to get a 2-0 start here in the Battle of Missouri.
Well, and a big part of putting the points on the board was to their new quarterback, Thierry Jones. He's our player spotlight for the Lunkers here in week 2. Losing Matt Rush, their starting quarterback from last week, Aaron, in week 1, I think Thierry Jones, 6 touchdowns thrown, just 1 INT. He looks pretty sharp out there.
Yeah, obviously it goes back to what we were just talking about. A lot of it came as a result of your defense makes a big play. He did a fantastic job of riding the momentum, as they like to say in sports. Your defense does something big for you, come back in, go put points on the board as a result. Your defense daps you up on the sideline. You feel great. You feel like a big shot. 6 touchdowns last week in week 1, but now he's going to face a really, really stout St. Joseph pass rush.
St. Joseph pass rush. They were all over. 14 sacks last week, but on the offensive side, they were led by newcomer at wide receiver, Adrius A.D. Ely, in a wide receiver room that's loaded with weapons, Aaron. He really made an impact.
That he did. 2 touchdowns there last week in the opening game. One of them was basically the length of the field, a 45-yard touchdown. Trujillo threw that thing from the back of his own end zone. Another phenomenal offensive performance from St. Joe. St. Joe coming off a season last year where they missed the playoffs, but were ranked top 2 in offense and defense. It was kind of ridiculous, some bad luck, some other things there that just went down. Obviously, we were on the call for a few of them, several kind of, last-minute heartbreakers, looking to kind of turn things around here this year, have a bit of a bounce back. And you mentioned it, the 14 sacks last week. To put that in perspective, the second most sacks in the league right now is 3. So this is a St. Joe team that has come ready to make big plays on both sides of the football.
A pair of 1-0 teams in the Show Me State in the Arena League. We got more coming up when we return here on the Arena League YouTube channel. We are ready for throw-off in this one. Week 2 getting underway in downtown St. Joseph, Missouri, the Civic Arena, Team Tech Field. It looks like it'll be the Goats will be receiving the opening throw-off. Yes, it will be, and it is number 10, Malik Wilson, to return it, throwing it away. It looks like Lacavius Daniel on the other end for the Lunkers in the home red, Goats in the away whites. And here we go as the ball comes in the air, and it will take a bounce inside the 5, goes out of bounds right there in that Ozark Lunker bench area. And the Goats offense will come out and take the field, led by quarterback Angelo Trujillo, back at quarterback, second year in a row, first year all the way back in the Kansas City days of this franchise, Aaron. He was a defensive back, kind of just an overall roaming athlete. They've turned him to be a quarterback last year and this year, and he's done pretty well. So, you know what, why not? Let's see what he's got.
He's had a couple of spot appearances throughout his career at quarterback here for the Goats. Now they've dedicated a full-time role to him, and it went well last week. We'll see if he can keep it going.
He's joined in the backfield by Malik Wilson. He was the starter last week as Trujillo fires, and right away he finds it to 80. He was our feature player for the Goats, and right away we're going to go with a little bit of hurry up.
Almost kind of a shot put pass there. Ely just a quick hitch up. Nice chunk on first down.
3 catches for Ely last week, 2 of those going for touchdowns, including one from 45 yards away. Wilson trying to make a cut, slick on the turf as he goes down. It'll bring up third down.
Really like that play out of Daniel Charles there, shooting between the gap. Goats didn't do a great job running the football last week. It was one of their few struggles. And right here, the Ozarks obviously keen to it. St. Joe going to try to get that rolling.
In fact, losing yardage on that last play. This trio will go short, trying to find Martinez, and it's bobbled, and it's going to be picked off. Nobody touched him, and into the end zone. It's going to be a pick 6 for Ozark.
Not the start Trujillo wanted there. Just talked about the play by Charles on the previous down against the run, and there makes a huge play off the tip. The pass just a little bit behind the intended receiver, as you're seeing it here on our instant replay, and Charles back-to-back monstrous defensive plays as he takes that one in for the pick 6. They'll try to turn it into 8 here with a 2-point conversion from the 10. For those of you new this season, 2-point from the 10, 1 point from the 5. No QB runs from the 5-yard line. QB run obviously in play here from the 10 on a 2-point try.
Terry Jones out his very first play, a 2-point try, trying to cash in on that pick 6, pressured immediately. That could be a common theme tonight as he throws it at the feet of his intended receiver, Emory Bryant Jr. You know, we talked a lot about this Goats defense coming into this one, Aaron. It's the Lunker defense that makes an impact first. That pick 6 for Daniel Charles, a 6'1" man, 205 pounds, out of Mason, Ohio, and that is how we get this one started here. Just a couple of minutes in, and we already have a 6-0 lead for the visitors.
Well, no strangers to these scenarios are the Goats. They love the come from behind at home type drama, and now they're going to make sure that they have to do that once again. On that last play, though, a huge missed opportunity for Ozark, who continues a massive drought in the extra point game. They were 0 for 8 last week on extra points, Dylan. They did not make a single point after, and right there, they had Bryant wide open in the flats. But you talked about it, that Goats pressure that got the 14 sacks last week came up huge.
Throws away again. A.D. Ely on the return with some room, makes a cut. And he'll be brought down past the 15. They're going to mark him right in the neighborhood of the 18-yard line. Second try here for the Goats offense. Again, they got off to a slow start last week down on the road at Arkansas. They turned things around, outscoring the Diamonds 40-8 when it was all said and done from the second quarter on. So let's see if they can turn the page on their second drive. Trujillo will step up. He can take off and run in the runner's lane, and he does just that. Angelo Trujillo past midfield.
How in the world, Dylan? He just put the defender on rollerblades out there to tight rope. I mean, he only had an inch to work with.
Trying to buy time. Angelo over the middle. Malik Wilson will be brought down, but right as he crosses the 15. 2 plays, Goats nearing the red zone.
That time he held on to it, which is huge. Last time obviously led to the pick 6 off of Wilson's hands.
Toss out. Wilson threads the needle, but gets taken down. Great tackle. In there again, I believe Lacavius Daniel on the tackle. He was the co-defensive player of the year last year, and if he doesn't get that tackle, I think the Goats might have 6 points on the board.
As it is a first down.
High snap. Now Trujillo's got to make up ground. He's all the way back on the Goat side of the field. He's got room, though, so he works his way back, throws. And incomplete.
That's a backward
pass. They're going to come together and say incomplete. Picking it up was DeJuan Hughes. That was dangerously close. We'll have another look at it here. The bad snap, that's Oscar Scott, the second-year returning center for the Goats.
So we'll take a look at if this pass goes backwards or not. From our angle, it's certainly, no, that's a forward pass. Good call on the field.
Definitely in real time. Looked bang, bang. Good look on the review. Now Trujillo takes off again in the middle, and Trujillo inside the 5.
Good chunk play there, but obviously won't be able to do it again now from inside the 5-yard line.
Quarterbacks cannot run on any plays inside the 5-yard line in the Arena League, so he'll hand to Wilson. Patience. Not going to make it.
St. Joe had some struggles last week in the red zone. Not tremendous struggles, but for Arena League standards, about sub 50% within the 5-yard line last week. Don't want to think about this one. Part of it has just been their inability to pound it in, Dylan. They have not had the running game that they want to have. And right now, that's looming large on a 4th and goal from the 2.
The Goats going to get together. I see for the Lunkers in the black shirt, that's their head coach, Cam Bruffett, who's returning back another year at the helm for Ozarks, trying to give out orders to his defensive coaching staff out there as well. Offensive coaching staff for the Goats being out there with their team. Their head coach led by third-year man Dorsey Golston, playing some college ball up at the University of Wyoming. Both coaching staffs veteran, well-versed in the Arena League, and this is a big moment already in this game. You know, and remember going back to all the home games we had last year, Aaron, I mean, down to the wire, thrilling action. So wouldn't be surprised if we see another one of those here to start 2026 as Martinez takes it at the 5, trying to power through. Great corral by the Lunker defense.
Just unable to convert once again. More of these struggles for St. Joseph. We talked about one of their really ridiculous stats from last week, positively, was the 14 sacks, but this was one of the negative ridiculous ones. They obviously try to go to the screen as some way to generate something that at least resembles a run game when you've only got 2 yards and a 5-yard end zone to work with. It's not quite the same as a full field football play down here. You don't have space. You need to be able to run the ball. Dead last in week 1 in rushing yards with just 21. And it burns them there.
And yes, that was on 4th down, so try is no good. Goats showing promise, but come up short, just a yard or 2 away from Pater. Now the Lunkers back to work. Going to get a good chunk here, the completion. That's Bryant Jr. again. Ball comes loose at the end, but he was well down and just about a yard short of picking up a fresh set.
Might have been closer than we think, but I do think he was probably down. They bring the cornerback blitz, and that time a good job by Thierry Jones to identify it. Quicker than he did on the conversion previously, and they get the completion this go-round.
And Jones fresh off of 6 touchdown passes last week. He's going to go deep and incomplete. Having a step, that's Miles Kit Denton. When he covered for the Goats was Ja'Kaylen Jackson out of Delta State University.
They had a couple of struggles with that last week against Eau Claire as well. They had the Axemen beat deep, and they just weren't able to connect for one reason or another. Few overthrows, and here we start this one with the same thing. Goats, though, love to bring those various pressure packages. They like to get a lot of guys up at the line of scrimmage. They don't play back with a safety as often as most other teams because they want to confuse you up front and play man behind it. So there's always opportunities to go deep, but Ozark is going to have to be a lot better than they were a week ago.
Of course, take a shot there on 2nd and 1, maybe just 2nd in inches. And now the Lunkers and Coach Bruffett, they're going to take their first timeout. So both teams will be left with 2 remaining, 9:29 so to play here in the first quarter. And 3rd and 1 play. And again, you got pretty much the entire playbook to your disposal here on 3rd and 1. You can go with just about whatever you want, and even knowing if you don't get it here, barring a big loss, of course, you could have the option to go for it on 4th and short. We'll see what ends up happening, just how aggressive the Lunkers want to be with it if they go that route.
Yes, obviously, if you talked about it, the big loss would obviously probably alter your plans. Being on that side of the field, Arena League football, it's only a 50-yard field to begin with. There's a lot more 4th down gambles in this league by nature, but you do also have the option to forfeit the ball and come back to St. Joseph on their own end of the field. Just depends on what happens here on 3rd down, and St. Joseph packing that box defensively. Watch for Mike Reynolds on this play.
He's lined up at nose tackle right over the center. The man out of Kansas, the former Jayhawk, and here's pressure, and they get to Terry Jones.
First sack of the ball game for St. Joseph. Huge play there by Corey Macon as we take a look at the replay, and there is Mike Reynolds pushing the pocket back, and the benefactor is Macon, the local product from Kansas City, Kansas, down in your neck of the woods, Dylan.
And Macon had big plays last week. Mike Reynolds did not play last week, so coming in with some fresh legs, making his presence known there on 3rd and 1. The Goats come through with the sack, and the Lunkers will surrender. So now the Goats offense come back onto the field. So both teams not able to make anything happen as far as scoring on their second possessions on offense. See what the Goats can do here. Again, another good crowd on hand here in St. Joseph, Missouri at the Civic Arena. The move made last year by the Goats from Municipal Auditorium in downtown KC-Mo up here to St. Joe, and they have been welcomed with open arms. Great energy, as always, from these passionate St. Joe fans. Trujillo
Martinez
coming back to work, scrambling out, had a man in Martinez. He throws, it's behind his man, Dom Marshall, and it's incomplete.
Yeah, had Martinez on that quick hookup. If they wanted it, it would have been 10 yards and whatever Ryan could have gotten after the catch. This is sort of St. Joe's speciality, though, is long field stretching plays. I almost wonder if that shouldn't factor into Ozarks' game plan in regards to using their surrenders.
Martinez and Marshall in motion. He goes to Marshall on the flat, and he'll be tripped up and pinned against the wall near the 20.
Knowing that St. Joseph is so much worse basically from the red zone than they are from the full field area hunting the big plays. As we get another snap off here on 3rd down.
And Trujillo will lower the shoulder, bowls his way past midfield, colliding right with Lacavius Daniel, and that matchup, that win going to Trujillo.
Big first down there.
Going to be incomplete, in and out of the hands, trying to go back to Ely. Good coverage right away, getting a hand in there, DeJuan Hughes.
They're attacking these underneath routes here early, which is fascinating considering the weaponry they have on that field between Smith, Ely, and Martinez.
This is an Ozark secondary, had 6 interceptions last week. Hughes had 3 of them, so aggression is going to be the key. And a nice throw down the field. Touchdown, St. Joseph. And it's Malik Wilson.
Wilson, who had the opening drop that turned into a pick six, sends the football into the crowd. One of the other unique facets here of the Arena League. That ball will be kept by that fan. But Malik Wilson had some hand issues on the opening drive. This is a good way to make up for it and get faith back from your quarterback. Trujillo puts it up there. Go up with the one hand, stab it out of the air. Big time play, Malik Wilson.
And the Goats will go for the lead regardless. They'll go for 1 from the 5 and a quick throw, and it's Ryan Martinez, sure as hands as ever. And St. Joseph quickly back in front, 7-6.
So right there, a converted conversion, Dylan. Ozarks staring at that mouth agape, entirely unsure of what was going on, because it wasn't just them, by the way, last week that had an offer in the conversion board. There was not a converted extra point 1 or 2 by either team in that Eau Claire versus Ozarks game. It was one of the strangest things I've ever witnessed. St. Joe, though, gets the big one, and there's an argument to be made here that every single point scored today is a direct result of Malik Wilson. Had a huge block on that conversion attempt. Obviously the touchdown on the wheel route, and now we go to the throw-off with St. Joe in front.
It'll be the first time we'll see the throw-off return team of the Lunkers get a chance. Try to make something happen. Emory Bryant Jr. waiting for it down on the other end of the field as it's sent away by Ja'Kalen Jackson of the Goats. And a solid run hard into the walls at midfield. That's getting the attention of everybody in the sideline suites here this evening, and good starting field position for Ozark.
We'll see what they're able to do with it here. Obviously, we talked about it in the pregame, Dylan. Capitalizing on good field position has been key for Ozark for their offensive production going back to last week. This has been a sound, solid team across all 3 seasons of the Arena League. And a big part of it is that they just don't make back-breaking mistakes. They capitalize on their opportunities. And here's a big one.
Jones down the field, takes another shot, and it's incomplete as he tried to find it to Bryant Jr. And that was a lot of the questions for this Ozark team was we knew the defense, a lot of those returners that they had, we can go on and on, about Craig Travis Jr. and Brock Carter, Gabe Smith, a couple of these guys. But it was the offense. You lose your quarterback, Matt Rush, your league MVP at running back, Brandon Mackey, wide receiver, Kendrick Payne, all of those gone. Basically rebuilding his offense from scratch. They bring in Terry Jones to get a couple of these other key pieces in. And so far, at least with week one in a win, and right now looking for their first offensive score as a flag is down. He finds it after some quick hesitation to DJ Ruff, the tight end. But let's see what this penalty flag is all about. It's our first of the game.
He's up near the line of scrimmage. I'm not sure if a goat might have jumped early. That is what happened. Goat's offside. So they'll take the penalty and keep the down going.
So somebody there just cheating a little bit.
Well, sometimes when your pass rush is as effective as theirs is, maybe you get a little antsy. It starts to become an inner competition, Dylan. You're trying to get the sack before your teammates do. They're showing blitz again.
Jones back-to-back incompletions. He'll throw, looking for a completion, and he'll go 3 in a row instead. Air mails it, incomplete.
That continues to be their Achilles heel on offense. They're perfectly fine running the ball and hitting these short passes, meticulously working their way down the field, matriculating, as our Kansas City faithful might appreciate the reference. But that deep ball continues to be an issue for them. They just cannot find a way to connect on those.
Well, that's been their calling card for the past couple of seasons. It's rushing the ball. They were the second scoring offense last year and first in rushing yards. So we've known they like to run in the pass, maybe stepping outside their comfort zone as the ball's on the ground. And it looks like the Goats got on top of it, and they did.
Big time play there, and that is Nasir Greer coming up with the football. Shout out to Greer, a member of a Arlington Renegades team back in the XFL of 2023. Won me a free t-shirt. I still appreciate that.
Just a bad snap from Jerry Harris Jr., the center, and Greer, the man that picks it up. Nasir Greer, an all-ACC selection while he played at Wake Forest back in 2021. Had a cup of coffee with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2022, and of course winning an XFL championship with the Renegades in 2023 as Boo Smith drops what was going to be a guaranteed touchdown. Don't say that ever around these parts, Aaron.
No, Boo Smith, normally tremendously sure-handed, the league MVP of the initial season of the Arena League. I mean, that's one that he always comes down with. That's his signature play.
A costly drop potentially for the former Missouri Tiger. Trujillo down again with some coverage. It's Martinez, the intended target, but it's the defender that's slow to get up for Ozark, and it's Brock Carter, number 5, and a leading tackler for this team a season ago. He had a pick 6 last week, and he would be a costly loss for this Lunker defense and for the team if he is unable to go, as they are going to tend to him right now. He fell down pretty hard trying to go up and contest that deep ball from Trujillo to Ryan Martinez.
It didn't have his center of gravity just right, got a little bit high, and ended up going down shoulder and head first. As we see the replay here, you'll watch the whiplash effect off the bump, and I'll tell you, I've been down on that field. It's not quite the same as one of those outdoor turf fields. Arena League fields, I mean, it's concrete under there, and then you've got the field strip turfs. It's good enough to be safe to take a tackle on, but the beating is just not quite the same as having soft ground underneath the turf as a base when you've got cement under it. The beads just don't always absorb the same amount of impact. It's kind of like playing on old 80s AstroTurf a little bit, Dylan, and right there you see the effects when you come down helmet first.
Yeah, so for our folks, I imagine you take like a hardwood dance floor and you just put this turf over. I mean, that's kind of essentially to the degree of what is out there, and Carter is still down. Head coach Cam Bruffett is out there. Training staff for the Goats and for the Lunkers is out there trying to tend to him. And yeah, just hoping it's nothing too serious. We can see him back into this game, but they continue to work on him. Meanwhile, we're stopped right now. 7-6, Goats with the lead. 4 minutes, 19 seconds to play. It's going to be a 3rd and 10 play when we get play going for St. Joe, who already, they had the pick 6 on the first drive. They marched it all the way down inside the 5 on their second drive, had the turnover on downs, weren't able to capitalize. They come back with the touchdown, though, so they've given up that pick 6. They answered, got the conversion, so they currently hold that 1-point lead. Let's just remember the play a few moments ago, the drop down the field by Booth Smith, and it's another one of those cases where, 3rd down and 10 here, you don't get what you're looking for, and you got to surrender that football. A prime chance where you can have a counterpunch and go back-to-back scores unanswered to you're going to give the ball right back to Ozarks, and they're going to only be down 1 point. That could be a moment where you at least star in our scorebook here.
I certainly would strongly consider, if you get any yardage here on 3rd down, too, that you would just go for it from here. I mean, to surrender the ball, you're only going to give them about 13 yards of field position, even from this spot. I mean, if you can get 4 yards and make it 4th and 6, at that point, it really wouldn't even be worth it anymore. So likely looking at 2-down territory here, and we can go back as well to that fumbled snap. That is absolutely a product of that St. Joe pass rush just as much as everything else. It can create situations like that. You really do start to rush your process as a center when you have to start thinking about what you're going to do after the snap. Sometimes the snap can suffer. And yeah, that was what happened, and obviously then Greer ends up with the football, as it looks like still down on the field is Brock Carter.
So you see May, he's asking to be helped up. He's going to get back up on his feet. And good sportsmanship being showed here by all of our faithful Goat fans, and for maybe some of the Ozark fans that made the travel up, giving a round of applause to Carter. And as tough as they come, a true gladiator in the sport and here in the Arena League, as he's going to be helped off to the sideline. And we'll see if he comes back later, if he's out for the remainder of this game. Only time will tell, but that's a huge loss in the short term of things here, Aaron, for this Ozark defense. He's kind of the straw that stirs the drink, if you will.
We'll see if that doesn't have any sort of impact on how St. Joe might attack this running a game again. I mean, at this point, it's been Trujillo has been their best rusher, and that's not by design. Now with Ozark's best run defender off the field, well, that's freebie yardage.
Officials getting together, discussing, making sure everybody is on the same page.
I think Ozarks was trying their best to try to lobby for some sort of flinch at the line of scrimmage, but they're not going to win that one.
In another case of a 3rd and 10 play, now you cut it in half, and now you give the Goats a chance in midfield potentially. They could flirt with having 2 plays, but they're not going to need it. They pick it up as Trujillo fires the dart to Ely, and you have Scott for the Goats, and that was number 7, Gabe Smith for the Lunkers, kind of getting tangled up in the face mask of one another, pushing and shoving. Flag is out again, a throw to the end zone. It's incomplete. I think Trujillo knew he had a free play.
Not sure what Martinez was doing there. He needs to also know that you've got a free play and maybe run a little bit. It looked like a jog the whole way.
You can kind of see everyone had to recover with all that pushing and shoving that was happening, and I think that they get it on Smith as he wasn't coming across in time. So that's heads up awareness by the Goats to say, hey, let's get lined up, let's get this snap and get a free 5 yards, and they had the free play on it. Now it's 1st and 5. Back near the red zone as Wilson takes on a defender and will go forward just shy of the 10.
Forward, some air quotes, didn't get a whole lot of space there, but does get maybe a couple inches.
Pressure from Ozark, tripping. That gives Trujillo some space. He throws to the end zone and trying to thread into that back corner. And it goes incomplete as he tried to find it to Boo once again.
That might have been you hate to talk down about Boo Smith twice in one game in this area, but oh, that might have been a short arm, Dylan. He might have been aware that that wall was coming up.
He catches that. He goes on the wall, over the wall, secures it. That's still a touchdown. They go to Martinez on the far side. The whistle will stop play as Martinez goes to the 5.
Now, to your point, it would not be a painless touchdown, so fair enough. But yeah, you'd like to see him try to reach out and make a better play on that as that one goes incomplete, trying to get it to Dom Marshall. So here we go, another opportunity inside the 5 where the Goats have had some offensive struggles through 2 weeks. A chance here to try and clean some of it up. See if you can't get a run game going. We already talked about it, but no Brock Carter in the game.
Trujillo avoids one rusher, goes back, throws across his body, and it's way out of bounds. Incomplete, and the nearest goat to it was Ryan Martinez, and now it's going to be a 4th down play coming up.
Yeah, just absolutely nothing open in the end zone for him, and of course no quarterback runs from inside the 5. So just didn't have any options. Good, smart play to just find his favorite fan and throw him the football.
Still will be a 3rd down play, so 3rd and goal from the 4. Under 2 to go in the first quarter. A 1-point lead for the Goats. Would love to build on it here. I've already had one drive stall out inside the Lunkers 5 tonight. Came away empty-handed, trying to change that here as Marshall goes left to right. Martinez and Smith going to be the motion men. Trujillo goes to Smith, ahead of steam for Boo, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown, St. Joe.
So he's had a few struggles downfield today, so that's one way to get Boo Smith involved. Just runs out into the flat. He lined up as the tailback on the play. Good motion and eye candy from the 2 receivers to that side to make sure that they caught the attention of everyone downfield. Eyes came off of Boo Smith, and when you take your eyes off Boo, he usually ends up in the end zone.
Usually doesn't work out in favor of the defense as Marshall takes some contact, no flags. That was a conversion try that's no good. And it's 13-6 St. Joe's. We take another look at the touchdown play.
We'll talk about it again as Boo Smith. Right there, nice cuts back inside, but yeah, that was all opened up by some good motioning and great rub routes. We had a corner route and a quick out and up from those 2 slots on that side that took the Ozark defender's eyes away from Boo coming out of the backfield, probably thinking a linebacker would take him, and the linebacker was focused on Ryan Martinez off the play action. I love that play design, Dylan. Catch everyone off guard, draw eyes where you want them to go, and not towards Boo Smith.
Well, a lot of eyes, they've been on Boo Smith anyways. A busy offseason for him, trying out in making the U.S. national men's flag football team. One of 3 Goats to try out. It was him, Martinez, and Trujillo, and Smith ends up getting the call, and he's on the national team, along with all of his other list of accolades from his time as a Missouri Tiger to being here in the Arena League, the league MVP and Offensive Player of the Year 2 years ago, and now he's got his 2nd touchdown of the 2026 season. And a return going to the far side. Great bottle by the Goats as they will halt him right at the 15-yard line.
Not a great deal of hang time on the throw-offs right now. They've made the switch this year to Ja'Kalen Jackson as their throw-off man. They've been using Trujillo through the last few years, and Trujillo has obviously made the now full-time switch to quarterback, so probably just not trying to take any extra health risks for him that they don't need to. But they've given up a couple of half-decent returns here to the Lunkers.
55 seconds and counting. Now they start to clock, now closer to 45 seconds and counting to go in this first quarter. So one play or 2 could do it on this drive for the Lunkers before we go into the second. A head start, to throw down the field with space. One play's all that's needed. Touchdown, Ozark, and a strike to Dennis Robinson.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was a miscommunication or just the wrong defense to be in. As you'll see, the inside corner tries to take the outside receiver because their outside corner has to then go out toward the running back, then decides to come on that corner blitz. There's almost hesitation there. And unfortunately, slot corner not able to get outside in time. So you'll see that that is Nasir Greer. And just gets burned deep, but he never had a chance. Just based on the defensive alignment they were in, he had no hope.
So with the full head of steam, that start for Robinson, no chance of catching up. They're going to go for 2 in the lead. And incomplete is going to be the call. They say it went down on the turf.
Just a bit of an underthrow there. Had his man, had a tight window to get it in.
And right here in front of us, Coach Dorsey Golston, spending his time as a defensive back at Wyoming, furious with his secondary, giving up that touchdown. Here's another look at that 2-point conversion try. So close, but just A little out of the reach of the tight end, Austin Potter. So it is 13-12. Goats still hanging on to a 1-point lead.
You just have to be able to get that thing up. He was clean, no pressure on him. And Jones, who had the 6 touchdowns a week ago, having some struggles hitting his targets here today against this Goats.
Well, you know how you make people forget about that? You have a 1-play scoring drive for a 35-yard strike. That's a good way to kind of put that behind in the first offensive score tonight for Ozark as they get back within 1. 11 seconds, that's all we have left in this first quarter. See if the Goats can maybe get on with a quick score as it goes off the video board here in the Civic Arena. Very similar to maybe like the big screen at T-Mobile Center for you folks deeper around the Kansas City area. It hangs down. It's definitely an obstacle during these throw-offs, and it's ruled as a dead ball, so automatically the Goats are going to take over in midfield as a throw out of bounds, essentially.
Quite a home field advantage. You've noticed that the Goats, obviously Coach Golston has been here for a few years now, spent all of last year here coaching games at the Civic Arena. He knew what to expect, so that's why the Goats have been taking all their throw-offs from the corners and throwing near side. It takes some adjusting to.
And now the Goats a chance potentially at midfield, 1 play
Martinez
to score. They go to the far side rather, and Boo Smith gets another catch. So they just go for the yardage on the play, and that is going to do it in this first quarter of action. I've already seen a lot here at the Civic Arena in downtown St. Joseph, Missouri, the battle of the 2 Show Me State teams in the Arena League, and it's 13-12. The Goats hanging on to a 1-point lead and driving. More second quarter action when we return. Opening play in the second quarter, right away a shot to the end zone for Trujillo, and it goes incomplete. Dylan Funk, Aaron Feely here on the Arena League YouTube channel. Week 2 action between the Lunkers and the Goats, a pair of 1-0 teams picking up Week 1 wins. Lunkers home against Eau Claire. The Goats did it on the road at Arkansas, formerly the Hot Springs Wise Guys, now the Arkansas Diamonds. 13-12 is our score. Trujillo going to take off and run. 3rd down and 2 play, and he's got the yardage and gets slung down. Extra grab at the face mask there, and now some kicking. And now pushing and shoving will come through. DJ Ruff getting tangled in there with Trujillo.
I think just based on when the flag came out, this has a very high probability of being against Trujillo. He was the last one that did something when the flag came out, unless they're just going to retroactively throw it on the face mask. But
the old adage, it's usually the second guy that gets caught. It was definitely Ruff, had a handful of face mask at Trujillo. Trujillo taking exception to that, kind of gave a shove. Ruff he didn't have a full-on kick, but he kind of had a little stomp there. And I think that's what they get it on. And that's going to move the GOATs even closer to pay dirt as we'll have another look at it right here.
So as Trujillo goes down, you see the face mask that technically goes uncalled.
Now what, the right foot right there, it's covered up, but that right foot, you saw it go up, it kind of was coming down on Trujillo, and I think that's where the flag finally came in, and that's a costly penalty for Ozark, as now it's goal to go at the 5 for St. Joe, but they're going to take a loss as they hand it off to Wilson. He's bottled up behind the line of scrimmage.
They have just not gotten the run blocking down. They've got a lot of playmakers do these GOATs, but they do not have that front that some of these other teams have.
Trujillo quickly over the middle and incomplete. So close.
I thought initially that was an overthrow for Boo Smith, but it was a perfect pass to Martinez, and he just couldn't quite haul it in. As you take a look here at our replay, look at that location. And now a couple of drop touchdowns for St. Joseph here today, so missed opportunities.
And for Martinez, who's only second in the team in pretty much every receiving category behind Boo Smith, I mean, that's the best 1-2 punch you can ask for in the Arena League, and that should have been his first touchdown of the night. He's lined up at the bottom of your screen. They throw behind again, and they go to Wilson. He makes it just past the 5 and then gets driven backwards, just outnumbered there. Red jerseys to white jerseys.
And the unfortunate part of that is it got him inside the 5, so take Trujillo's legs out of the equation for this play.
Yes, they spot it right at the 4. Definitely where his forward progress was stopped, and you'll take that here if you're Ozark. That's one less thing you got to think about on this 4th down play to the end zone. Again, this time it's clocked. Touchdown St. Joe's, touchdown for Dom Marshall.
Just running the in-breaking route from the outside. Ozark is in zone coverage on 4th down and goal. For whatever reason, Trujillo can't run, so you don't have to have eyes on him, and you just don't want to lose someone behind you here. Watch him get right behind the linebacker. Perfect window throw. You might, and look at him settle down right there. Takes the shot from Daniel Charles. That was perfect.
And a 1-point conversion try for St. Joe. Trujillo fires again, and nobody home. He was going in the direction of Marshall. That's now 3 straight scoring drives for St. Joe, all for passing touchdowns. Trujillo to Wilson, Trujillo to Smith, and now Trujillo to Marshall. And it is 19-12, GOATs over the Lunkers.
Fans, don't forget, we have a halftime tennis ball toss. You go and get your tennis ball.
Yeah, great crowd on hand here tonight. The uniform matchups here tonight. I know the league, they just continue to get all these great sponsorships, continuing to grow from 4 teams originally 2 seasons ago to 6 last year. Now we have 8 this year. Newcomers, Memphis Hound Dogs, Monroe Greenbacks, and the Nebraska Siege. We lose the Duluth Harbor Monsters, the back-to-back Arena League champions. They are now members of Arena Football 1 and go by the Minnesota Monsters. But it's incredible to see this league continue to grow. I mentioned the sponsorships they have. They got new Adidas jerseys this year. We'll talk about that as we go along. As the return's going to be taken by Bryant Jr. Gets just past the 20 and tripped up. I mentioned the uniforms because this is a bit of a unique one. We haven't seen the GOATs ever wear their road white uniforms here at home. Going with the white outlook, Aaron, and the Lunkers in their home reds.
Yes, and the Lunkers also with a bit of a unique look. They've had it for most of their tenure here in the league, but always appreciated the white pants, where most of this league is pretty uniform. Same color top bottom. It's an Arena League, so Arena League looks, they kind of, I mean, they really look like 11-man uniforms.
They're pretty sharp.
They're very classic.
Shout out to Adidas, the new uniform sponsor of the Arena League, as Jones pressured right away, throws, and it goes incomplete, and the GOATs, they continue to get pressure on Jones as he takes another deep shot, but unable to complete it as he has Miles Denton down the field.
Yeah, just a miscommunication there. The ball was right where it needed to be, and Miles just never turned around and saw that thing to get it hauled in. Now, come up here for 2nd down after another incomplete deep shot. And there's that blitz again. St. Joe creates havoc, and here they're showing once more. And they're bringing it.
14 sacks last week for the Goats, and Jones will take off in his lane. It's tripped up by Mike Reynolds, who is down on his backside, but does the job in midfield.
I think St. Joseph just realized that based on the confines of the rules here, keeping the quarterback to where he has to stay inside those hash marks, that it's just to your benefit when you have the athletes that St. Joe does to play man coverage. You want to blitz. He's got nowhere to go. It's going to be hard for him to beat you straight up forward.
And a straight up run. This is vintage Lunker football as they hand it off and get the first down in more is Kendon Walker out of South Phoenix, Arizona.
They haven't been able to get that going here today, but they haven't really tried all that much. It has been interesting. Maybe feeling the highs of a 6-passing touchdown game a week ago. But right there, they hit a huge run, and that might also be a way to try to carve through some of these lanes if St. Joseph is going to continue to stack the box and bring these blitzes.
Only 29 rushing yards last week for the Lunkers. That one goes for 10 plus. And now wide open over the middle and caught for the touchdown. A quick answer again for the Lunkers. The tight end, DJ Ruff, hauling it in. His first touchdown of the season. The man from New Orleans, Louisiana.
And obviously that's another risk that you take when you bring that blitz. This time Ozark decided, hey, we've normally been keeping all 3 of our linemen into block. This time they release Ruff on a straight vertical, and 4 men came on the rush. There was just no one to pick him up. Straight up the seam. Good play call there, and that should potentially alter how St. Joe has to call some of their defensive plays now. We'll see what kind of adjustments they make, if any. High snap.
And diving forward, it's going to be picked. Quickly brought back down. If you're going to throw an interception, it might as well be in a situation like that. Conversion, no good, but no chance on the return either. Diving out is Corey Macon, who already has a sack in this game. Now he's got a pick on a conversion try, and that continues to keep the Lunkers within arm's reach as the Goats lead by 1, now 19-18.
He gave it a shot. He popped right back up. He was going to try to return that thing, but Ozark playing it well, brought him back down fairly quickly. Good stop, though, by St. Joe as Ozark continues to search for their first convert. Right now, that's the difference in this game. They still haven't converted an extra point, 1 or 2 all season.
2 offensive scores. They opened the game on the defensive score, the pick 6, but when you come up empty-handed on your conversions, you get a score just like this. And we'll see how exactly that plays out when this thing is all said and done.
Good hands by the fan in the white hat and the black shirt over there. Took the throw of the t-shirt, went out, plucked that thing over the railing.
Ely is ready to return it. The last throw off for Ozark went off the video board. It's a low line drive as you would expect here. A tough bounce, and it goes into the end zone. And it'll be a touchback.
That's a touchback.
So both teams just trading off scores here. That's now 5 straight drives between the two that have ended in touchdowns. 3 straight for St. Joe, now 2 in a row for Ozark. We'll see what the Goats come out with here on yet another drive. 9:36 to go before we hit the locker room for halftime. If you're new to the Arena League this year, your first time ever watching a Goats game, was wondering what it is all about, well, this is it. High-paced action, 24/7, nonstop. It's a whole lot of fun up here in St. Joseph, Missouri. Still 3 more home games to go through this season as well. As from his own end zone, dumping it off Trujillo. Finds Ely as he gets spun down just shy of the 10.
Good 4-yard gain there. I'd like to see him try to stretch the field a bit more. It's one of their specialties. They just haven't really been attacking the vertical passing game much.
Flag is down, toss back Trujillo, and a potential big play here for the Goats, and it will be. It's points for the time.
I think it's
we'll
coming
see
back,
if it
Dylan.
stands. That's Ely that scores on the lateral back from Trujillo, but again, flag was out before Trujillo even pitched it back, and I believe this is going to be on St. Joe.
I think they might get Wilson for a hold. We're going to have to see. They're already playing the touchdown music, but you'll take a look at the replay.
Everybody's going back to that end of the field as well. And it is against St. Joe's. We have another look at it.
And we take a look at the instant replay here.
That hold right there, I think, on Oscar Scott. And that is going to be the call. So take away the flashy touchdown. Half the distance to the goal. Trujillo nearly back against the wall. buys himself a little bit of breathing room, courtesy of A.D. Ely again, and another Lunker defensive man is slow to get up.
Yeah, that's Lacavius Daniel holding on that left knee, which just went limp on him as he was rolling over, and that is not good. I think it got planted in that turf.
And for the Lunkers, who are already short without Brock Carter, and now if you're looking at Lacavius Daniel, he's the man that is down that, again, that left knee, like you mentioned, Aaron, the one being worked on. We'll have another look at it. Again, the co-defensive player of the league last year, Lacavius Daniel, he would be another crucial loss.
Oh, it was as he was trying to get up, which is interesting.
He makes the tackle, he gets up, trying to
just buckled on
support himself off his left leg. It's what everybody does without even thinking when you're getting yourself off the ground. And, oh, man, this is just, that is very unfortunate to see. And he is down in some pain and in discomfort. He'll be tended to by the training staffs here again. And, you know, again, for Ozark, you've already lost Brock Carter for this game. Well, you know, how long he'll be out, potentially, who knows? And now you're looking at Lacavius Daniel. I mean, that's just gut-wrenching for this, not only this Ozark defense, but for this Ozark team, Aaron.
Yeah, obviously already shorthanded, as you mentioned. Now to lose a guy like Daniel, who's been playing speedy, playing some excellent ball down there. He was a part of that breakup earlier that led to the pick six with Daniel Charles. And now a second injury here that will likely go ahead and step aside from. Watching the St. Joseph Goats.
Step aside. They'll continue to work on him. We'll pass along any updates. 19-8, St. Joe with the lead, 8:37 in the second. There's Lacavius Daniel being helped off the field. He's 6 foot, 185-pound defensive back out of Memphis, Tennessee, and another leader in the secondary for the Lunkers. And again, no Brock Carter and now no Lacavius Daniel, arguably your two most talented defensive players returning from a season ago. And facing this St. Joe offense that's as high-powered as any offense in the league, Aaron, this is going to be a tall mountain for them to try to climb as the rest of this game goes along. Meanwhile, for St. Joe, obviously you're taking note of that, and maybe do we see some shots start to be taken down the field against a depleted secondary of the Lunkers?
Well, you can tell the Lunkers are thinking about it. They've got that four-high shell here. They are trying to take away anything deep.
And right away, that's what they were wanting to do. Again, flags will fly in. He was going for Ryan Martinez.
This play never happened, though, of course.
It'll be a 5-yard penalty on the Lunkers. That'll be penalty number 4 today. Only 2 so far for St. Joe. The illegal contact right there before the snap is even out, and that's just knowing that the deep ball is coming. You want to try to get that pressure. That's Amani Peoples, man out of Miami, Florida. So 5 free yards for the Goats. A dump off here. Wilson staying active in this game. Needed to get to the 15, and I think that's exactly where he got to pick up the fresh set of downs. And that was a 3rd and 1 play, too. So very key pickup from Wilson. And with the hurry up come the Goats as Trujillo wants to take the shot. He'll take it down the field. Marshall! Touchdown, Goats!
Dom Marshall now with a pair of big-time catches for St. Joseph. I mean, we basically highlighted in pregame every single receiver the Goats had except for Dom Marshall, and he has come to play here. He clearly got mad that we didn't talk about him in pregame, Dylan.
How about that, yeah.
Big, oh, look at that throw in stride from Trujillo. He just went up the seam. Nobody bit on the underneath play. As we'll let you know that the conversion was no good.
And the conversion struggles continuing here for both teams so far tonight. And they both kind of struggled on those last year as well. So the more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess. But still, points for St. Joe. That is now 4 straight scoring drives, 4 straight drives hitting and passing touchdowns for Angelo Trujillo. That time was just trying to go to Booth Smith, who couldn't get his head around and make the catch. It is 25-18. With 7:52 still remaining in this opening half.
See, and here's the thing, too. On that touchdown play, they were trying to take advantage of Ozarks being in zones so often. They were trying to flood it out there with the underneath out route coming from Ely, and it actually was cleared out. The post worked to clear it out. That shouldn't have been the read to go deep. They went deep anyway, and as it turns out, you don't have to make the correct read if you're going to throw a perfect pass.
And it'll be a touchback. It took a perfect bounce near the goal line and went out of bounds. And the Lunkers offense back on the field. Now down 2 scores. 17 is where it sits right now, 25-18. Well, not quite yet. I can do simple math, I promise. Just on the spot, not that great at it. 7 points is the deficit.
We'll bring the abacus up.
The amount of scoring, at least it feels like somebody should have a two-score lead at some point. We'll see, but as long as the Lunkers continue to score, we'll see if we ever get to that point.
Power formation here.
From the 5, and Jones. Snap is rolled back to him, had it, lost it, Goats on top of it. And again, it's going to be Nasir Greer.
He is really good at finding fumbled snaps. He's got a skill set, Dylan.
He's going to get me closer to that 2-score lead, hopefully. We'll see. Now inside the 5, the Goats will take over. Another fumble recovery for Nasir Greer, his 2nd today.
Oh, it was almost, I mean, yeah, I'm not even sure what you'd call that. He didn't think he was under center. He just didn't put enough on it. That was wild.
2nd fumble loss, both of them being on bad snaps for Ozark. Hand it off, Martinez stretching out at the end. Touchdown, St. Joseph.
That extra effort got it for him. He was hit at the 2 and he was going down, but the stretch landed on a body of an Ozark Lunker and was able to get the little half stretch to find the end zone. Breaks the pylon. Look at this effort from Martinez. They get a rushing touchdown here, Dylan.
And that's Martinez, his 2nd rushing touchdown of the season and 2nd total for this Goats offense. And they're going to go for 1. Trujillo will survey, getting blocked from Wilson. Now rolls out, avoids the rush. Trujillo trying to make some magic. Sidestep, throw to the end zone. Oh my goodness, how about that? Dom Marshall again, he has been staying active in this game, making his presence felt in this receiving room for St. Joseph.
I'm not even sure as a defensive coach what you're going to focus on going forward when you've got the Goats coming to town. Boo Smith, Ryan Martinez, then Ely has the week he had last week, so you start thinking, well, okay, now they've got a 3-headed monster, and just when you start to think you've got all the heads of the Hydras accounted for, out comes another one, and Dom Marshall has exploded onto the scene with one of the best games we have seen here in the Arena League that wasn't from Boo Smith in any given matchup against Iowa.
There's now a 14-point lead. Finally, there's that 2-score lead for St. Joe, courtesy of a rushing touchdown for Ryan Martinez and a 1-point conversion try. Angelo Trujillo able to find Dom Marshall in the end zone. And this has a feeling that the Goats could maybe start to run away with this if they can hold the Lunkers scoreless again. They're going to take over just past the 15, calling it about the 17-yard line.
And Ozark definitely going to have to start relying on this offense here going forward. They've gotten the quick touchdown from their defense, and early on it looked like their defense was matching up well against St. Joseph. That maybe they could grind this out into a defensive battle like they had last week against Eau Claire, and then St. Joseph just exploded, and it's becoming clear that that is not going to be the case. We're going to have to see if Jones can put this team on his back with that right arm.
Pressured immediately, throws, and it's incomplete. And this pressure from St. Joe, that was one of the big takeaways from the game last week, and it's been helping them a lot this week, continuing to get back in the backfield, making Jones uncomfortable, as he had a couple of open options, but just due to the pressure, he had to get it out quick, a throw that was way off line.
Well, you know, a former safety is going to really love to bring the blitz as a head coach. He's going to trust his defensive backs because, I mean, if you're a former DB, DBs can do no wrong. Of course you're going to trust them.
Jones going to try to use his legs here. It'll get him a little bit past the 20. And down at around the 28. It's going to be a 3rd and medium coming up here for Ozark.
This is where they really like to get into some creative blitz packages. At least 4 typically come on 3rd down. St. Joseph was lights out 3rd down defensively a week ago. They've been really solid tonight as well, only allowing 2 touchdowns today, so you know they've been killing off these drives.
Ozark 2 of 6 on 3rd downs last week at home against Eau Claire. A 3rd down play, whiffing on a potential sack for St. Joe, and a throw down the field is caught, breaking a tackle. Just what the doctor ordered for Ozark, and Emory Bryant Jr. with the score.
They desperately needed that. That was the blitz we were talking about, but they just weren't able to finish the job. You'll see it here on the replay. Coming through absolutely cleanly was Lonnie Crawford, and he just could not get Terry Jones on the ground. And a nice play after the catch by Emory Bryant. And it looks like they're going to try to chase points here, Dylan. They're going to go for 2. Well, when you're not converting any conversions, you might as well not convert the ones that are for more points.
To get them back within a touchdown, quick pitch, and not going to hold on. Improv play, not going to work for Kendon Walker. That clock will continue to run. Goats will get it back. Just a little over 4 to go here in the first half.
That little shovel pass a little bit out in front of his man there, as Walker, for the 2nd time when a conversion has been open in the flats and just unable to convert with him. Right there, got him on that left hand, though. You'd like to see one of your playmakers come down with that, but obviously the location of that pass needs to be a lot better. And because of that, it's going to stay an 8-point game here.
And back to the offense of St. Joe, and I'll tell you, A.D. Ely had the breakout game, the newcomer at receiver, and this week so far it's been Don Marshall, 4 catches already, including a 35-yard touchdown catch. Here's Ely on the return, breaking multiple tackles. A.D. Ely gets hammered. Daniel Charles came to finish that return off, and Ely pops right back up, thankfully, as he took a lick here, that's for sure.
Yeah, nice return. You see the nice cutback moves, reading his blocks brilliantly right here at the end. Gets away from Austin Potter. Austin Potter didn't like it very much and comes back with some authority. He said, "Take my ankles from me, will you?" And if you look real closely there, Dylan, you can kind of see a little bit of the ether of A.D. Ely's very essence leaving his body and floating out into the space there off that edge. It came back, though, and he's ready to play more ball.
Yeah, he definitely popped right back up as timeout will be called for. It was taken by Ozark. So they're left with 1. St. Joe still has 2 at their disposal. 3:27 left to go here in the 2nd quarter. And again, it has been a run here for St. Joe, and starting the game slow like they did last week. They had the pick 6 off the drop and then the turnover on downs. They were at the 2-yard line, goal to go, and they couldn't punch it in. How do you answer that? How do you follow that up? By 5 straight scoring drives. That'll do the trick.
You know, their offense has always been a point of pride here for St. Joseph. Funny enough, with a defensive head coach like they have, but the defense has risen to the occasion this season.
They held Arkansas last week as they'll go incomplete. Intended receiver is Ryan Martinez. After the first quarter last week, the defense held Arkansas to just 6 points. So it was very impressive. And when you get 14 sacks, that's definitely going to help. Diamonds also had their own struggles with some turnovers, penalties, taking away some scores, but definitely give a lot of kudos to that St. Joe defense as the offense is picking right up where they left off from a season ago. A dart delivered again. It's Dom Marshall as he catches it right at midfield.
And no bonus points for figuring out who now has been the go-to guy. And they're still giving him a lot of cushion here.
Plenty of time for Trujillo, now starting to run out. Another throw to the end zone. Booth Smith gets his second.
Spins the ball, just a little bit of a kind of an improv play here from Booth Smith as Trujillo breaks contain in the pocket. We'll take a look at the replay. It's initially a crossing pattern from Booth Smith, and as Trujillo starts working his way toward the sideline on a scramble, Booth Smith helps his quarterback, goes downfield.
Toss to the corner and nobody home. Martinez bracketed, double coverage. Leading the way was Diedrich Lutton as him and Martinez continuing to trade words. This is right over by the St. Joe bench, so you got to be careful here. Both teams trading words.
Well,
now some Martinez is starting to work through.
Yeah, they got to get Martinez out of there. There you go.
Now both
you want to
teams
keep
separated.
him in the game.
Yes, definitely. And same thing for Diedrich Lutton for Ozark, and a defense that is already so depleted. You need to keep everybody out on the field as you can. Another look as
this is what got him heated.
Yep.
They tried the fade route, a lot of contact. Officials letting him play here tonight. Martinez didn't like it and decided he needed to get his lick back. Comes back, gets in the face of Lutton there. Lutton doesn't like that, so those two start jawing, and then the shove comes, and then the hoopla, Dylan.
The hoopla. Always beware of the hoopla, the extracurriculars after every play, and thankfully everything broken up there. No flags, so we continue on, and it's 38-24, back to a 14-point lead for St. Joe. Just shy of the goal line and ahead of steam coming out is Emory Bryant Jr. on the return. And a good one is what it'll be. Goats trying to strip the ball.
Yeah, Ely
Play is not dead yet. Helmets are being ripped off.
Ely was big play hunting there. He was just focused on that football. And unfortunately for the Goats, I think it might have cost him about 10 yards there as a brilliant finish from Emory Bryant.
How he held on to this without some stickum, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Goats in there trying to rip the ball loose, and he loses his hat in the process, and yeah, that'll fire you up for sure as he gets up, lets the St. Joe defenders know about it as he has his team set up right at midfield, and that'll take us to a 2-minute timeout, a 2-minute warning, if you will.
That was a brilliant effort there from Bryant. Just what Ozarks kind of needed, getting the spark back after the defense gives up another huge touchdown to St. Joseph. St. Joseph continuing to build on their momentum. Ozark needs to find something to get that switched over, and there, that kick return might spark the offense. And if you can start to maybe build a little bit of energy, see if your defense can't come out and do something to slow down this Goats offensive attack that, yeah, they haven't been able to handle the trenches this season, Dylan, but they still have an absolute monopoly on skill position dominance in this league.
All right, 2-minute timeout. We'll step away. The drive will resume for Ozark. We return on the Arena League YouTube channel. Rally towels being lifted here in the Civic Arena, downtown St. Joseph, Missouri. The hometown Goats with a 14-point lead. Lunkers with the ball in midfield. 2-minute drill to close out this first half strong. Jones looking to pass. Reynolds back. He throws. Incomplete. Had a chance to get a completion out of that. And I mean, by everything, Aaron, it looked like that was going to be a sack, but at least he gets it away for an incompletion and no yards lost.
Dennis Oh, Dennis Robinson. You know I'm a big fan of tight ends, Dylan.
Sure.
The most important position on the field and also the handsomest. But not a great catch there from Dennis Robinson after his quarterback makes a phenomenal play to try to turn that play into something rather than a huge negative. Great pass rush from Mike Reynolds, by the way.
Pressure from the Gravedigger, as always, and a high step. Scooped up and into the end zone. Touchdown. It's an entourage of points in the first half for St. Joe.
My goodness. Oh, the high snap followed by the turf monster. It gets him, Dylan. Terry Jones running back to get it, and then another case of it is Corey Macon couldn't quite get to it. He thinks he's got a walk-in touchdown.
Bobbles it,
the greased ball got to him.
Right there to scoop it up and into the end zone. That's a number 20 that we don't have on our roster. We do have a 21. If that's Joko Willis, we'll see maybe after the game. But it's a touchdown nonetheless for St. Joe, and they get a defensive score in this game. And a quick timeout. The final timeout will be taken here by Ozark. Now starting up that video board down 20. Pending this conversion try. Goats are going for 2 from the 10, so we'll see what they make of it. And I tell you, I don't know who's having much of a more rough day here tonight than the center, Jerry Harris Jr. of Ozark, Aaron. That's now 3 times that he has had snaps either rolled to the quarterback that have ended in a turnover, and that was just way too high for Jones. He couldn't even have a chance to get it.
Yeah, and every single one of them has directly led to a St. Joe touchdown. He hasn't had the greatest ball luck afterwards. He is being punished for every one of those mistakes. St. Joseph has jumped on each and every one. And they've managed to then offensively turn it into points. That time the offense wasn't even needed. We'll see if the offense can add 2. But yeah, it's been a rough go of it getting those snaps down.
Trio has 2 blockers, rolls to his right, cuts back inside to the back of the end zone, bobbled, and it was swatted away initially. Boo Smith had a chance to bring it in. There is a flag right around in the area where Trujillo was rolling around and had some blockers, so this could be in the area of holding.
Another key potentially could be DJ Ruff with his helmet off.
That's another good indicator, yes.
And he was furious.
The conversion's no good with 135.
I think we got a good look at it coming up here.
Take a look at the replay as it hands up near his face, hands inside the jersey. If you can call 3 holds on one play on one player, they probably would have.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually what you hear, especially in the NFL, is that you could call holding on every play. How about multiple holds on one play, on one player? How about that?
Oscar Scott has himself had a bit of a rough go at center. He hadn't fumbled any snaps yet.
Had a couple of penalties, but
he's been called now twice for holding.
Still working out in the favor of his team as they have a 20-point lead, 44-24 with 95 seconds left to go in the first half. Another throw-off pending for St. Joe. Bryant Jr. looking for another electric return. And a great tackle by Dom Marshall as he's not going to let him get any more further away, or rather P.J. Caldwell, number 14. Nicely done by Caldwell to keep a potential big play under wraps there.
Haven't been able to call Caldwell's name much here today, but gets the opportunity one-on-one in space against the electric Emory Bryant Jr., who has been a killer on these returns against St. Joe today. But that Goats defense doesn't seem to care about the field position in the slightest, Dylan. Put it on our 1-yard line. We'll stop you anyway.
There you go.
That seems to be the mentality, and why wouldn't it be when you are generating the type of pressure and just the overall defensive quality that they have put on tape thus far.
Jones dumping off short, right into the walls, and down goes a gentleman in the sideline suite, spilling some drinks. Always got to keep your head on a swivel as he gets up. Man.
Fist pump to the crowd there. He's okay. The drink is
slightly less full than it was, but
it's not. Yeah,
it's still there. He's got some.
And the defense held him to a gain of just minimal.
A couple of yards on Attempt for Walker, now a throw that's high, and it goes incomplete. And I'll tell you, that was Ja'Kalen Jackson that was waiting. If it gets by the hand, the intended receiver, I think he was there for a potential interception.
We can take a look at the replay here. This is all started by Corey Macon. You see him on screen right there. The pressure again generates the off-target throw. The St. Joe Goats live and die by this defensive front, and I apologize, that was not Macon, that was Greer once more.
Also having a great game, 2 fumble recoveries for him, and a pressure. Mike Reynolds there as well, as always, for
There's
the
Macon.
Goats. Pressure again by Jones, and he lost the football. Who wants it? Who wants it? They get it! Touchdown, St. Joseph! Down in the bottom of that dog pile, and a touchdown for the Goats again.
And it's 20 again.
It's Weathersby. Joe Weathersby.
So I was a play early, Dylan. This time, it's Corey Macon coming through on the blitz. He is becoming a specialist at this. And he generates the strip sack, turns into a defensive touchdown once more.
And now attention goes to Weathersby. Good news, he got the touchdown. Bad news is he's still down. We'll take another look at the strip sack and the score. Yeah, Weathersby on the recovery, getting the strip sack. Coming off the edge, that's Joko Willis. And then on the scoop is Weathersby. And that kind of gets sandwiched there awkwardly. He was well into the end zone. There's a Lunker player that's also down getting tended to. Weathersby for St. Joe is up on his feet, gasping for some air. And for the Lunkers, it is number 18, DJ Ruff, that is down.
Yeah, I actually thought initially that Weathersby might have been injured when he went into the wall head first, but I think it's definitely that shot to the chin. And now that he's back up on his feet, he's able to get the turnover chain, if we've got a shot of that. Used it all of last season.
Turnover chain.
The honorary turnover chain, pose with it, get the photos from the front row fans.
And I believe the turnover chain still brought to you by Garage Beer. I believe. It was last year. I don't know if it is this year or not. It looks like it.
We'll have to ask that fan. She's got a great photo of it. And it's a double up now.
Goats are already halfway to the century mark, and we're still in the first half of this game. It is incredible. You're doing it all phases right now. Offense, defense, everybody's contributing points tonight. And that's the 4th fumble tonight by the Lunkers, the 4th turnover, and all 4 have resulted in at least 6 points for St. Joe.
And they're looking for more. Going for the 2-point try here.
In a game that was once close, now the Goats starting to run away. As a pitch back to Martinez. Here's some razzle-dazzle. Martinez making some cuts inside the 5. Pushed. And a great job by DeJuan Hughes, who came in and denied Martinez, as Hughes was the last man to beat, and he said, not today.
There was only razzle, Dylan. They didn't quite have the dazzle in his bag just yet. Ozark had it contained. Like the play idea here, especially because we know Martinez can throw the ball. That is something that is in his bag, so you have to be wary of it even after the pitch. This time, though, tries to use the athleticism. Just that close.
Couple of guys trying out for the U.S. men's national flag football team, kind of going back to their calling roots and the tryouts this summer on that play, perhaps. And it doesn't end in another conversional points, but still, 50-24, you got a pretty decent lead right now. Still a minute 10 to go in this first half. There's still a full second half to play here, folks. And at this rate, who knows what the score can end up being in this one. I mean, like I mentioned, they're already halfway to the century mark tonight for St. Joe. Could they get to that mark or over it? We'll see.
I do believe that would be the first 100-point game in the Arena League.
They got to 90 a couple times in St. Joe back when they were the Kansas City Goats in the summer of 2024. They've scored 94 points and 91 points that season. Executing at a high rate so far tonight, and that's going to be something to keep an eye on as this game goes. You got to continue to do that. All gas, no brakes. You never want to let up. Let your team right back into it, especially a team like this at Ozarks, who they have shown the ability to pack some punch. They're going to need to try to find that, find some spark here in this game as they're continuing to mess with the clock. Now they got it at 28 seconds.
That was likely what they were talking to the officials about earlier, as Coach Golston and Boo Smith kept pointing up at the scoreboard and having a discussion. They get it all fixed, though.
A new return man. This is Kitten Ditton, and he is met right away. A pair of goats able to bottle him up inside the 15 again. Even the special teams is having a really good night tonight for St. Joe's. Nasir Greer in on yet another stop. You know, one of the many newcomers on defense for St. Joseph. Their only returning starter from last year and the year prior is Mike Reynolds, the gravedigger, the nose tackle. That's it. Everybody else bringing them in from scratch. Very similar to like the Lunkers on offense, however. So you're looking at, in this particular matchup, Ozark offense versus Goats defense, a pair of squads that are completely built from the ground up this past offseason in favor of the Goats right now with those 4 turnovers.
This is exactly where the Goats want to be defensively. Must-pass situations the rest of the game. Let that pass rush just tee off.
3 of the last 4 drives have ended in a fumble for the Lunkers, and right away pressure comes through and Jones takes a hit. And at 12 seconds, time will be stopped. Again, Ozark has no timeout, so this is going to be coming from St. Joseph, and they'll have 1 remaining.
Yeah, and we're getting to the point now where this almost becomes a matter of, if you're Ozark, I mean, there's always the chance to come back, but if this gets even slightly worse, does it become just wave the white flag, run this ball a few times, get out of here without injuries, because St. Joseph is coming for your quarterback.
And they led the league by a massive margin, 14 sacks. He said second place was 3 sacks.
Correct.
Coming into this week alone, they've already added more sacks here tonight. That strip sack on the last offensive drive for Ozark. It's unreal what this team has been able to do, trying to bounce back and get back to their aspirations and goals they had from the first season of being the #1 seed and going to the championship game. Didn't even make the playoffs a season ago. Now looking like the #1 team in the league through the first at least week and a half right now. As a shot down the field is going to be incomplete. That'll be a 3rd down play, 3rd and 10.
And Dennis Robinson was running the in-cut, looked like a dig route on script, unless he just ran the wrong route, but decided to try to throw that one deep, maybe thinking that Robinson would convert it to a post. He did not, and the results speak for themselves. Another incompletion on a deep try. The Lunkers continue to struggle on passes 10+ yards down the field.
A team that, if they have their option, they want to try to run it, and they've run it a handful of times tonight. Their longest rush going for about 12, 13 yards. Outside of that, they've had a couple of big hits down the field through the air, but no dice. And another tip and should have been intercepted. And he's going to do some push-ups knowing I should have caught that one. 7, 8, 9. Either I missed one or maybe he's just short of 10. I don't know, but either way, it's 4th down. So close. That was Darius Warfils, 6'2" man, 190 pounds out of Bowling Green University.
And likely the last play of the half here, barring a defensive penalty. St. Joseph playing like it. They've got everyone back.
So why not go for it here?
See what they can get with a 3-man rush, the more traditional way of doing it.
Jones, pressure coming. Now buys himself some time, just throws it short. Looking for something to happen, pinned up against the wall, and zeros on the clock. And an explosive first half comes to an end with the Goats having a 26-point lead, 50-24 over the in-state rival Ozark Lunkers here in Week 2 action.
And Corey Macon took an entire Mike Reynolds to the kneecap, and he is walking like someone who did such a thing.
Plenty of highlights to break down from this first half and more coming up during the halftime show. It has been fireworks, to say the least. Trujillo ending that first half, having himself 5 touchdown passes. It's the Goats 50, Lunkers 24. We'll be back with the halftime show here on the Arena League YouTube channel. Halftime score, St. Joe 50, Ozark 24. Week 2 action here in the Arena League, in the Civic Arena at St. Joseph, Missouri, and it's the hometown Goats, Aaron. I mean, can't really sum it up any much more by saying that first half after a couple of drives that sold out early by the offense. Defense locked in, offense got rolling, 5-6 straight scoring drives. Pure dominance in that first couple of quarters for St.
Yeah,
Joe.
obviously when the game starts off for the Lunkers with a pick six on the opening drive of the game, you have to think that they're feeling pretty good about their chances there to maybe come in here and pull the upset, and it has just been all downhill from there. First of all, you just talked about the Goats' offense continuing to do what they do every single season, which is send out the best athletes in this entire league and say, good luck trying to keep up with them, and most teams can't. It's just the nature of the beast. They have so many receiving threats here that would probably be the #1 target on most of the other teams in this league. It's a ridiculous plethora of weapons. Now, the one downside their offense has had is that they don't invest a great deal in traditional trench players. They've gone full Arena League. They have since the beginning. They usually carry 1 or 2 actual linemen, and then it's mostly athletes past that. So the run game has been non-existent, but they've made up for it by being able to just decimate you with deep balls. Boo Smith, Edie Ely, they've been making big plays, but the star of this one offensively has been Dom Marshall for the Goats. And the real star has been every single person that has taken a defensive snap in this game for St. Joseph. They have continued the unbelievable pass rush that carries over from last week. They continue to make Terry Jones' life absolutely miserable here tonight. And he just hasn't been able to connect with any of his receivers because as soon as he takes the snap, he's been surrounded by white.
Yeah, and St. Joe had those 14 sacks last week. They've continued it this week. We'll come back, talk more about the Lunkers side of the ball, some of the struggles that they've had, and then maybe give some thoughts, other stats going into the second half. More to come. The traditional tennis ball toss here every halftime of home games here at the Civic Arena in St. Joseph, Missouri. 50-24, a halftime lead for the St. Joseph Goats over the in-state rivals Ozark Lunkers. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from that first half. They were plentiful to choose from, Aaron, for sure. And like I mentioned, both sides of the ball dealing for the Goats, but it was that quick start. Ended up being a pick six for the Lunkers. Got them out in front early, but we would soon find out it wouldn't stay that way as the Goat defense would crank it up and then the offense would get in stride as well.
Yeah, the defense continues to live and die by that pass rush. They have figured out with the rules here in the Arena League how to properly utilize the blitz to their advantage, and it is giving teams nightmares this season.
One of those 4 fumble recoveries by the St. Joe defense. Not the best moment there, some blown coverage. Trujillo just nipping it off. Boost Smith. So far for him, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns for 29 yards. Not too bad for the former Missouri Tiger. Do your little dance in the end zone. Why not? Again, the Goats ended this first half with 6 straight scoring drives after coming up empty on their first 2 of the game. And Don Washington, man, what an impact he's making here in week 2.
That he has. He has put his name on the map. Another target to watch out for if you are a defensive coordinator and you've got the Goats on your schedule going forward. I genuinely don't know how you're going to shade coverage. I mean, obviously Ozarks has decided that their strategy has been try to just play back in that zone defense. Don't shade to anyone, try to just keep everything in front of you, and that's not working either. So I don't know what the solution would be at this point as a defensive coach if you're trying to slow down this Goats team.
It's a tough question to figure out for somebody that gets paid the big bucks, that's for sure. Something the Lunkers have to figure out here at halftime. They're down 26, 50-24, the in-state rivals, St. Joe Goats. Final 30 seconds before we get started with the second half. It'll 50-24 is the score. Angelo Trujillo back out on the field, getting some warm-up throws in, and looking to carry the momentum he had with him in the first half. 5 touchdown passes, remarkable. 1 rushing touchdown for Ryan Martinez, 2 receiving touchdowns for Boo Smith, and then 2 receiving touchdowns for Dom Marshall. You also have a receiving touchdown in there for Malik Wilson as well. So the Goats spreading the ball around. Again, already halfway mark to the halfway to the century mark, and I think the question, Aaron, is are they going to get to that triple-digit mark in the second half? Again, rarefied air in the Arena League, now breaking into its 3rd season. Be curious to see if the Goats can get it done or not.
Yeah, this will be a huge opportunity for them. It looks like this could be the best defensive squad they've fielded across all 3 years, and that includes their really, really good opening year there in Kansas City in 2024. That was still mostly an offensive-powered squad. This team carries over that explosive offense, but now they've got an elite defense to pair with it, and we'll just see how far that can take them.
Let's talk some strategy real quick as we're waiting for Ozark. They're going to get the ball to start the second half. You know, on the defensive side, you're already down arguably 2 of your top players in Brock Carter and Lacavius Daniel. You're looking up at that scoreboard right about, you're down 26 points. Your offense has struggled. You've had 4 fumbles in that first half. I know there's some obvious points of things you need to clean up on the turnover side of things, being shorthanded on the back end of the defense. But what's maybe another key or 2 for the Lunkers to try to turn things around in the second half?
Well, the Lunkers can start things off by trying to see what they can do blocking-wise up front. I don't know if they need to go full power formation and just try to win one-on-ones outside to get the passing game going, but what they're doing right now, they just have not had an answer for that St. Joe pass rush, and defensively, you're going to have to make an adjustment, maybe follow in the St. Joseph model and just try to blitz your way to some stops, because trying to cover all these receivers in that deep zone coverage shell that they have been in has not been working.
Another return is going to be stopped short of the 20, so the Lunkers will take over at about their own 19-yard line. Both teams flipping ends of the field.
It's time for your Goats defense to step up.
You're looking at, on the offensive side of the ball, you had that strip sack, the fumble, you had a touchdown before those 2, but then a fumble before that. So you're looking at 3 of your 4 final drives in the first half ending with turnovers. You had the one to end the first half too. I'm not throwing that one in there just because the time ran out, but on the offense, definitely got it. You can only really go up from here on both sides of the ball. So we'll see what the Lunkers can do. Down 26. They'll open up this second half, and it doesn't get better out of the first play. It's a pick 6 for St. Joe. The defense continuing to score, and it's Joko Willis.
In the home of Jesse James, an absolute robbery on the first play of the second half. Oh my goodness, what a play from Willis. He just, that is brilliantly played. They're trying to set up the screen, going to the left side to Kendon Walker. And Willis, I mean, that's just being an athlete. That's not drawn up on the defensive board. He is rushing the passer. When you don't get there, get your hands up, and he jumps in front of the passing lane, puts his hands perfectly, and that's what earns you the turnover chain in St. Joseph.
Joko Willis was one of the big gets in this defensive secondary, a former Auburn Tiger. Back in 2022, also had a stint at the University of Nebraska Kearney, and he gets his first pick 6 as a St. Joe Goat. Kudos to you on the Jesse James call too, Aaron. Pure, that is awesome stuff. And right away, Goats back in the end zone. Try is good to Boo Smith. Put another point on the board. The Goats continuing to run away with this one. So forget all the talk that we just said about maybe what some things, if you're the Lunkers, you can try to do in the second half to get yourselves back into this. One play on offense, a pick 6. Yeah, my goodness, this is looking like it's going to be a long second half for the team in red.
That it does. I was worried, I kind of touched on it in the pregame, but trying to keep optimistic about a potential mismatch just based on the 2 teams, how they performed in week 1. If they carried over that same style into week 2, that this might be St. Joseph's game to just run away with. And thus far, that is exactly what they have been doing.
returning
And
back.
4 defensive scores between these two teams, 3 of them for the Goats.
St. Joseph, the team returning back to its prominent form after underperforming last season. Players knew it, the coaching staff knew it. They wanted to come out, be better here in 2026, get this team all the way back to the championship game for the first time in their history, as this will be a touchback in the end zone. And look, I know it's still early in the season. There's still a lot of things that can go wrong to derail a season in any sport for any athlete. But I got to tell you, I mean, through the first 6 quarters and maybe a little bit of change here as we're in the second half of this one, there's a big gap so far of St. Joe and just about everybody else in the Arena League right now so far in 2026.
I'd like to see if you're Ozark. I mean, obviously you never want to be in a situation where you're just conceding anything, and there's a lot of football left to be played. But I really would like to see if they don't try to maybe start to generate some rushing offense here for the Lunkers. Try to get a running game going and lean on it a bit, if for no other reason than you're just going to want to keep Jones healthy.
Goats want to bring pressure. It's a quick pass. Getting some breathing room. Emory Bryant Jr., he was the lead receiver last week for Ozark, and he has another target there. That's good for a fresh set of downs. 10 plus, 15 plus.
Well, but what do I know, Dylan? They come right out there throwing it. They're going to try to claw their way back into this thing. It's a 31-point deficit. We've seen crazier things, I suppose.
We have seen the Goats being down by 25 plus points and have been able to get back into things late in the fourth quarter. So who knows? Blown coverage, open with plenty of room. Kenan Walker, Goats quickly get to him. But just like that, 2 plays and the Lunkers have a drive going.
That's been the Lunkers' best offensive plays in this game, have come on those St. Joe cornerback blitzes when they don't communicate on the back end. Right there, just no one accounted for the outside receiver who was vacated by the blitz. Mike Reynolds making a big play there, gets the hands up. If you don't get to the quarterback, get your hands in the air. And I mean, there's just so many ways that the Goats have been able to just interfere with everything the Lunkers have wanted to do on offense. If you're getting pressure, they're getting a sack, they're forcing a fumble, they're jumping back into the passing lanes on screen passes to intercept the ball and then run it back for defensive scores. And they're swatting it right back in your face.
A massive 33-point lead. Lunkers just trying to cut into it. They're over the middle, and it's incomplete. Bryant Jr., the intended target, looking around maybe for a penalty.
I think he was trying to tell his quarterback that there was a gap in the coverage and that he was trying to settle down in it. And he's trying to get on the same page there with Terry Jones, who was trying to lead him. The issue was, if he had run under where he was being led, we might have had yet another stoppage in this ball game, because there was a Goats defender flying in at top speed.
For sure. Jones near midfield, calling for the snap, gets it. Pressure by Reynolds, tracking back. Reynolds gets the sack. Nasir Greer was back there as well, and the rough night continuing, and the Gravediggers starting to celebrate.
And so this will be an interesting one, as we're going to have a down and distance that began across midfield that's potentially going to end in a surrender, and it will. After the Mike Reynolds sack, he got some assistance there from Greer, as you mentioned, and man, this St. Joseph pass rush continues to be otherworldly. I mean, growing up around the Chicagoland area, I've heard myths and legends of a defense back in the mid-'80s, Dylan, that used to do such things. Never thought I'd see them with my own eyes, but is that Richard Dent down there?
It's always, appreciate the old Chicago sports deep cuts with you, Aaron. One of the reasons I love calling these games with you. Surrendering are the Lunkers. Back on offense go the Goats. And a handoff here to Ryan Martinez, bouncing it out to the outside, getting a block from Booth Smith. He'll go into the wall.
Well defended there by Ozark, but I love the play design there. A lot of eye candy trying to lure the Ozark eyes in different directions. Worked magically for the Booth Smith touchdown earlier, and they end up backhanding that one back to Ryan Martinez. That time, though, the Lunkers played it well. But
Bobbled on the snap, but Trujillo picks it up, avoids the rush, fires a dart, down on a knee, and
still
bringing
up.
it in is Wilson. And heads-up awareness by Craig Travis Jr. as he gets on top of Wilson.
I don't think Malik Wilson knew that he was still up. He got up fairly casually.
That's why they always say you play until you hear the whistle. You just go, go, go. Quick toss to Martinez. He'll be met immediately. Another Lunker loses his helmet. It's about the third or fourth time we've seen that tonight.
It's Lutton again. I don't know if he needs to tighten the chin strap or what's going on. Is he buckling that thing?
It's definitely one of the things you want to have on you at all times in this sport.
I'm not sure that he is tight. He just tossed that helmet right back on, and he's just getting back for the next play. Maybe tighten the straps there, friend.
Trujillo maybe thinking end zone shot, goes short to Wilson. Can he make a couple of men miss? He does one. And he's clobbered near the 15. He'll mark him just short. About a yard or two, some shake and bake. Kudos to the PA announcer here in the Civic Arena. Wilson being heavily active in the offense after being a player last year that was just kind of more of a, I don't know if you want to, he was there, but just maybe overshadowed by Martinez and Smith. Trujillo heavily featured in the offensive mix so far here in week 2 as this play will stop. Flag is down, and it's going to be an offside on Ozark and another free 5 yards given.
Good use of the hard count there from Trujillo. He's got a mastery of this quarterback position for the Arena League game. Part of that being that this is, of course, his 3rd year in this system with the same team in this league. He's had some I was going to say spot starts, but spot playing time, I guess. He usually comes in off the bench to play quarterback.
Now another toss. Marshall lost the ball there at the end. Again, they'll say he's down. Lunkers firmly believe that should have been a fumble.
Well, maybe we can see it here on the replay. So we take a look at when that ball came loose.
A couple of looks here for you folks at home. Head coach Cam Bruffett sprinting down the field. The head coach for Ozark maybe when he want to challenge, and he's definitely down.
Yeah, the elbow hits the ground, and that's what pops the ball out.
And now
I would strongly advise not using your challenge flag.
It looks like he's going to not do it, so Goats will go to the end zone, double coverage, and it's incomplete. The Bosco mascot in the area to it, but intended for Ryan Martinez as it goes incomplete.
Yeah, they drop into what is essentially the 7-man version of a cover 2 shell there, and I think he thought that with Martinez running that corner, he was going to have a one-on-one with the safety and be able to just outrun him on the outcut. Didn't realize, though, there was no underneath flat receiver, so the corner was able to just fall back into it.
Fires quickly to Marshall and tried to do a quick curl, and it goes incomplete. Took a hit.
Whenever you run that corner, you always want to have an underneath route to try to hold the cornerback on the outside. I'm not sure if that was how the play was designed, or if someone just forgot to be over in their spot. But either way, going to be 3rd down.
Trujillo will survey, get some block from Oscar Scott, goes to Boo Smith, pitches backwards, and just diving on top of it to avoid the turnover is Malik Wilson, and it's 4th down.
Well, if nothing else, I'm not sure it was intentional, but Boo Smith avoids going inside the 5 by doing that, so Trujillo can still run. We like to put an optimistic spin on things here.
It's in Trujillo's hands. He can take off and run if he wants. He's going to pass, and he fires, and it's incomplete. Again, Wilson in the area, ricocheting around. No Goats cheerleaders harmed in the process, but it will be a turnover on downs for the Goats.
So take a look here. Yeah, no one opening up for him. Good defense there by Ozark. Good heads-up dodgeball skills. Shout out back to gym class there for the Goats cheerleaders. Head on a swivel, girls.
It's like they always say, if you ever come out here to a Goats game again, you can buy your tickets online at stjoegoats.com, arenaleague.com. They always tell you got to keep your head on a swivel here in the arena at all times, especially if you're on the sideline. But again, players make a big play, throwing balls into the stands, ricochets just like that. Always got to keep your head on a swivel. So the second time tonight that the Goats have been inside the Lunkers 5 and have come away empty-handed. Defense is back out, continuing to just be a force as the Lunkers try to get the running game going. It's another handoff to Walker. She gets a few.
Got a little bit of the field tape coming up again. See if we get a stoppage or if it's still intact enough.
Yeah, you mentioned the turf monster. It definitely is a common visitor here in the Civic Arena at times. I will say this year there's a designated nail gun person. So if a piece of turf comes up, they send the guy out with the nail gun, patches it back down. So they're all over it here. Year 2, the Goats have called the Civic Arena home. Here's a shot down the field, and it goes incomplete. Some contact and coverage. Morphos for St. Joseph.
Well, Martinez had some complaints earlier about contact on his fade route, so I guess you could say that that complaint has to end here because they are at least calling it both ways. They are letting these guys play down the field. Good tight coverage. That was that same wheel route against the cornerback blitz that scored him a touchdown earlier. This time, though, St. Joe communicated nicely, and as you mentioned, it was Lorfels gets over in time, and he had that one perfectly covered.
Highly decorated player, formerly out of Bowling Green University. A couple of times we've called his name on the deep secondary. Blown coverage and a touchdown for the Lunkers as they nearly go coast to coast.
And that can be the issue with a strict zone on the back end. They were in what was essentially a cover 4 back there, but they don't pass off correctly. It's actually a crossing pattern from the far side from Austin Potter. As you take a look at the replay, he starts off as an inline blocking tight end. He starts working his way across the field, and then he notices 2 Goats. Both go with the underneath dig route that was coming across from the other side, so he takes off up the field, and it leads to a big touchdown.
Now another shot to the end zone, bobbled around, and it's going to be caught. And again, it's Austin Potter. So they call his name 2 times on that drive, and he comes through big time on a 2-point conversion try. That time on the tip drill.
Johnny on the spot. I'm not sure they called his name this time. I think he decided to do that.
Well, why not?
Him and Lady Luck got together, formed a beautiful union, and it leads to 2 points there for the Lunkers.
Before that, he was held without a single reception. And for Austin Potter, 6'1", 220 pounds out of Fairgrove, Missouri, he had 3 touchdowns last week. It was his arena/pro football debut. And it was also his 30th birthday as well. So he celebrated in fashion, and that earned him the Lunkers Offensive Player of the Week honors. And now he comes through here at about the 4.5-minute mark in the second half in the third quarter. He comes through with a pair of catches and brings in 8 total points. So it's now 57-32. Still work to be done for Ozark. But at least they do get a little bit closer as going to have a player swap on this pending throw out for Ozark.
Having to use a timeout to switch out a player on special teams.
Being down in the deficit that you are, that you need all 3 of those timeouts almost, and to burn one right there, that definitely hurts, as it was Miles Kit Denton that was not on the field when he should have been, and that costs his team a timeout. They'll have 2 remaining. Short on the throw, it bounces. It's got to get within the 10.
Yeah, that one landed about the 13, so that'll cost them some yardage.
So that paired with that timeout that they didn't want to burn, it's not the way you want to follow up getting about a 44-yard touchdown strike and then a successful 2-point conversion if you're the Lunkers. Back to midfield goes St. Joe, as again they want to get going up tempo as always, as Trujillo takes the snap, looks to his left, pumps, fires right down the middle, and incomplete.
Oh, Martinez didn't squeeze it. I don't know if he knew that the corner was coming from the backside to knock that thing out. He was very lackadaisical, just kind of backpedaling. I think he thought the touchdown was a foregone conclusion. And poked out of there.
Little peanut punch by Dedrick Lutton. That saves the touchdown. They go to Martinez. This time he holds on, pinned against the wall. And again, it's Dietrich Lutton. He's there to keep him to a stop. Didn't quite get all of it, but it'll be a 3rd and short play. Timmy Trumpet's pause for the time being as Smith, trying to make something happen, gets tripped up by that turf again. Boo gets back up on his feet and going backwards. So now a 4th down play. Call it 4th and 3 as we near 3 to go in the 3rd.
I tell you what, this could be the time for a pump and go. Ozark has been very aggressive playing the short routes.
Trujillo wants to run. Sidestep. Trujillo. He's got it.
And he was determined to take that thing himself, basically from the word go. And why not? He is a phenomenal athlete. And between those pipes, gets right to the 1st down marker, and one additional lunge ends up getting the 1st down.
Gets the job done. A 4th down conversion. 2nd time tonight the Goats have been able to do that. To the back of the end zone. Marshall. Intended target out of his reach, and it goes incomplete. And behind those curtains, I mean, it is pure steel bleachers back there. So any 50-50 ball that drifts you back further in the back of the end zone, you might be slightly hesitant, maybe, to try to go up there. I know you got shoulder pads and helmets on, but steel still hurts to collide into.
Well, and that play was blown up right off the bat when Marshall ran into one of his other receivers as they were trying a rub route. That basically blew the entire thing right on up.
Inside the 5, Marshall continuing to have his breakout night. And it was A.D. Ely last week down in Arkansas, and this week here at home it's been Dom Marshall, man out of Valdosta, Georgia. Trujillo again. Goes a little high and out of the reach of Boo Smith.
He had him.
Goats trying to avoid going back-to-back trips inside the 5 at this end of the field and coming away empty-handed.
And Boo Smith wisely started taking that thing up the field to the near side corner and hit the brakes. He read the defense like a book. Trujillo, just a bit of a miscommunication, put that thing too high and out of bounds.
A quick strike into the end zone, touchdown, St. Joe, another one. And A.D. Ely as he gives a fan a nice souvenir.
I like that play design there. Take advantage of the Ozark starting to get a little lax, expecting these long drawn-out plays. This time it's just quick, right up the middle, as you see on the instant replay. Ely in the slot playing that pseudo tight end position. His guy rushes, and he's got an easy one.
Back to Martinez, maybe looking to throw, pitches it back. Cue the circus music, a strike to the end zone, and it pays off for St. Joe again.
P.J. Caldwell again. Had the big special teams tackle earlier, and here he just patiently waits in that far side corner of the end zone. And man, the Goats looking good as they have doubled up the Lunkers from the Ozarks.
They never say throw across your body, but if you're going to do it, you might as well make it in a play like that. The swag surf is in full effect here at the Civic Arena, 64-32. The hometown Goats potentially, barring catastrophic failure here at the end of this ball game, could be underway, should be underway to going 2-0 in the first 2 weeks of the 2026 play. Back to return again, it's Kit Denton. It's been him and Emory Bryant Jr. taking the return honors tonight. Kit Denton wrapped up, rear-handed, ball stripped at the end by Joe Weathersby, but it came about a half second after the whistles blew and the play is dead.
That was a bit of a quick whistle, I will say that, as that would have been the 3rd defensive or special teams touchdown for Weatherby. I mean, I don't know, you be the judge at home, but that looked fairly bang.
About as borderline as you can get. He's wrapped up, momentum stopped, he goes back a yard or two, and then, I mean, right as he hits that 2nd yard backwards, ball gets stripped. You know, of course, for Joe Weathersby, who already has a fumble scoop and score here tonight. I'm sure he wanted another one, but
We're not trying to get greedy down there, are we, Devin? The defensive line is.
And Reynolds right on top of Terry Jones, and he might be a little slow to get up as the big man out of Kansas landed right on top of him, and that is how the third quarter comes to an end. The Goats have doubled up the Lunkers in the score column, 64-32. Goats 15 minutes away from a perfect 2-0 start. $15 to go in this one to match up in the Show Me teams in the Arena League, and it's St. Joe that's up 64-32 over the Ozarks Lunkers. I've gotten a little better on my math as we've gone along in this game, thankfully. My goodness. Dylan Funk, Aaron Feely here in the broadcast booth at Tech Team Field at the Civic Arena in downtown St. Joseph, Missouri. It has been dominant all night long here for St. Joe as another play bottled up, not going anywhere. You have Warfels back there. Mike Reynolds in the mix as well. Just had almost a near sack in the third quarter, did Reynolds. It's hard to, I think the list is actually shorter, Aaron, to say the players on St. Joe that haven't had a big impact play tonight. Quite frankly, I don't think there's anybody on that list because I think everybody's had their fair share of at least a big play, a big catch, touchdown, turnover, something.
We'll have to go to the list of retired players, I think. In cut.
Got him down the field, and it's caught. Holding on, tumbling down to the turf. Goats bring some pressure. It was well blocked, and they get burned down the field. Miles Tinton.
Perfect route, and this is what they need to go to try to negate that St. Joe pass rush. They bring basically everyone into block, and they just trust their man, Kit Denton, on a one-on-one, and he absolutely beats his man there in Lonnie Crawford on the deep post. Great route there out of the backfield.
Into the end zone and spilling in. A touchdown for Kendon Walker. Lunkers able to respond. Opening this fourth quarter, down 32. They cut into it with at least 6 on that Denton score.
So we'll take a look here at the replay. Just avoiding that boundary after making contact with the corner. Balance there out of the backfield by Walker.
Pretty much guarantee every conversion try on this fourth quarter gonna be going for 2. This Ozark game. We have seen some miraculous second half comebacks. Aaron and I have, at least here in our time as the voice of the Kansas City / St. Joe Goats, but this would be up there as one of the best if the Lunkers are able to somehow get back and even get within one score of the Goats tonight. It would be incredible, but they're going to need every chance that they can get, so got to convert here. It's almost non-negotiable. A 2-point try from the 10. Jones will fire, and it's high and incomplete. Warfield's on coverage again, that time on number 18, DJ Ruff, pleading for a flag, but he's not going to get one. And the score is now 64-38.
And I think if you're St. Joseph, the one thing I would say is as the Lunkers continue to, on some of these plays, maybe make some notes, some verbal protests in your direction after these plays, it's going to have to be a key point of emphasis for this fourth quarter. Do not engage. You do not want anything to happen in this fourth quarter to compromise next week with anyone getting into it, anyone getting a suspension, anything of that nature.
And you got a pivotal matchup next week at Iowa for St. Joe. They return home, 2 straight home games, June 20th against Nebraska and June 27th against Eau Claire. But particularly, like you mentioned, you're at this point in the game right now. You're putting the finishing touches here. You can kind of start to look ahead in a week's time. Up in Waterloo, you're going to be facing the Woo of Iowa. Always highly competitive when those two teams in St. Joe and Iowa get together, and you need every available body you got. Don't want to lose anybody for a quarter, a half, a whole game. Doesn't matter. Keep your composure over this remaining about 13 minutes and change left to go in this contest. That's, again, more than likely already done and finished with. A.D. Ely set to return the throw off for St. Joseph. Hughes ready to send it away right here in front of our setup. He'll rake his way more towards the middle. He was right in the corner in front of the St. Joe bench. Now he fires it, and whistles will still blow.
So a timeout taken there by St. Joseph.
So they were short a body. We just saw the Lunkers have to burn a timeout in that third quarter for this exact same thing. Oscar Scott missing on the field for St. Joseph. He comes on late, but not before Coach Dorsey Golson has to burn the first of his 3 remaining timeouts. Of course, you're more willing to do that if you're St. Joseph right now compared to where if you're Ozarks, you had to burn that timeout. But nonetheless, we'll try it again.
Quite as big a deal for you. I don't think that you really think that you're going to end up in a position where those are going to become important, but we'll see.
Never say never, as Ely will return from about the 4-yard line. Has a window and shot down. He'll reach to about the 20.
You'd say good field position for St. Joseph here, but there's not really a difference between good and bad field position in this game. Their offense has been so ridiculously efficient today.
I mean, they've had starting field position from inside their own 5-yard line and then inside the 5-yard line of Ozarks. Again, with how efficient they've been again in that second half, they closed out with 6 straight scoring drives after coming up empty-handed on their first 2 to start this game. So they're clicking, and they are red hot right now as Martinez breaks 1 tackle, pinned against the wall as he makes his way past the 20.
Does it count as a broken tackle when one of them was your own teammate? Does he get credit for the stiff arm there on Dom Marshall?
How about the fan right here? Look at it, he's got the phone. But it's got a shot to the end zone, and it's Booth Smith, and he's got the touchdown. Fan loses his phone on the last play, not able to record this Booth Smith touchdown. Sucks for him, but the St. Joe Goats now put up 70 here on the Lunkers.
An incredible offensive day. Trujillo having himself a ball game. It doesn't matter which receiver he chooses to go to. Each and every one of them has performed, even with some drop issues. That is a perfect throw. Great route from Smith as well.
Looking for the 1-point conversion, a throw in the middle, and there he is again. It's Dom Marshall continuing to have an impact for the Goats tonight.
Well, it had been almost 3 plays since last he caught a ball, so he was obviously due, at least today.
He was due, exactly.
St. Joseph continues to just steamroll offensively.
And how about to the tune of 7 passing touchdowns for Angelo Trujillo? Takes his season total now up to 12.
Well, you kind of knew the writing was on the wall when they played an Arkansas team that last year was the #1 defense in the league and were able to put up the numbers that they did in that contest. And they come in here against Ozarks, another good defense, by the way. This is no scrub defense out there.
There's just no scrub team that's out there.
And St. Joseph looks like the Kurt Warner Rams.
Greatest show on indoor turf, at least for the first 2 weeks here in the Arena League. Bryant Jr. taking on contact as he passes the 10, and he'll take over just shy of the 15. And it's just starting to show shades of the very first year for the Goats when they were in Kansas City, putting up fireworks at Municipal Auditorium, and then that weird end of the year when they had to play a couple of games at a high school football stadium due to Municipal Auditorium not being fit to play in that environment. But that offense led the league in scoring. They were by far the #1 team. They got upset in the first round of the playoffs that year against the Iowa Woo, and had a lot of high expectations last year, didn't meet them, and they have come out looking like a team on a mission. Offensive, defensive, it doesn't matter. Both sides of the ball have been shining so far this year, as that one, I believe, was it incomplete or not? And they're going to mark it as he caught it, as Bryant Jr. was a little slow to get up. That was Coach Golston for the Goats initially calling, saying he needs to be checked out after he was a little slow to get up.
Ruff is still talking about his helmet having popped off. He thinks that that was a penalty against Mike Reynolds as we take a look at the replay here. Looks like hands were on the shoulder pads. We'll see if they got too high.
Just kind of got awkwardly rammed into the wall there. That's what I think got the attention of Coach Golston. Everyone gets up okay. Ruff to the sideline. Second down play, Jones will throw, caught near the first down line, almost came backwards, then goes forward. That's Bryant Jr. again, going to lead the Lunkers in receiving for the second week in a row as he picks him up a fresh set of downs.
Another crisp route there on the out route. Good work by Jones navigating the pocket as well, because that was another great get off by those edge pass rushers for St. Joseph. It's been yet another wonderful game out of the pass rush for St. Joe. They've got everyone up at the line again, threatening a blitz.
I think it might have ricocheted off of one of his own blockers or the defenders, definitely tipped, and it goes incomplete. And I think, the question, Aaron, and it's just something that all Goats fans are going to ask, through the first 2 weeks, your defense has looked phenomenal. Is it something that you can pace and keep up with for the entirety of the season, or you think teams eventually find a way to figure it out and kind of, at least hold you got to be accountable on defense and maybe.
Well, it's a high-risk, high-reward style with all the blitzing that they do. If someone figures out a way to get these passes off quick in one-on-one coverage, it could do damage against this defense for St. Joe. The issue has been, he might still be, all right. I thought for a second there that Lorfels went clean over the top of him. Bryant's still down. I was going to say they just haven't, neither team that St. Joseph has played yet has had a receiver that's been able to beat their DBs consistently, quickly, in this man-to-man coverage behind him. That's going to be the key. It's not going to be a matter of finding some secret sauce. It's pretty simple. It's the same that it is on all levels of football. If your opponent is in love with the blitz, the key is going to be winning one-on-ones. If you can do that, you're going to back them out of those blitz packages. But if you can't, well, it's going to be a painful day for your quarterback.
So far, 2 weeks in between Arkansas and now Ozark, it has been proven as a point that hasn't been able to figure out yet. All right, on cue, a throw down the field, and some good late coverage there to make up some ground, forces the incompletion. They're looking for Austin Potter, already has one touchdown catch in the second half.
Take a look here, it's more contact down the field. I mean,
how's Weathersby again?
They've been letting them play today, but you certainly see what Booker there in Austin Potter was asking for. As the 4th down gong sounds here in St. Joseph.
Remnants of The Undertaker from WWE getting the crowd fired up. Goats already up big. It's a 4th and 7 from midfield. Another high snap. Jones falls down on the turf, and that pretty much sums up the night it has been for the Lunkers.
The bad
Goats will take over.
snaps continue. And yes, sack there officially will be credited to Greer. As it's going to be another Goats takeover on downs. I mean, you can't really pin too much of this on Terry Jones. The quarterback, the stat line's not going to look great, but man, I mean, there has just been not a great deal of options.
Now we got a little tomahawk chop going on in here. If there's one thing that these two teams, both calling Missouri home, is that their love and support for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm pretty confident in saying that.
Well, that won't be a Missouri team for that much longer.
Smith. Oh my! Smith is almost dumped all the way over the wall onto one of the tables of the sideline suites.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that
Lutton
was.
Gets in there. That was way after the play, very egregious. As Lutton, he tries to basically put him on a table.
I mean, it's one thing to do it in one clean motion and maybe pretend it was an accident. That one was fairly egregious.
Yeah. They line up and go. Trujillo puts it on the ground, and Oscar Scott, the center, gonna jump right on top of it. Not too many miscues tonight for St. Joe, and that was almost one of them. Still a loss on the play, but still manageable as they'll take over at about still the 9-yard line where Scott recovered it. Smith is still out on the field, as is Lutton for the Lunkers. Lutton covering out on Martinez. He's the man in motion behind Trujillo. Smith lowers the shoulder and brings the boom. At an M on the end of boo, and you get boom, and that's what we just got right there with the lowering the shoulder, and he lets his defender hear about it too.
And obviously going to want to make sure that Boo Smith, you keep tabs on him now, has gotten to a bit of a conversation afterwards with Emery Bryant, who I should point out was not the player that tried to dump him off into the table, but I think maybe just emotions high at this particular time.
And now you have DJ Ruff coming across early again for Ozarks. The Goats are going to take the free yards. And there's been no shortage of talking and jawing back and forth between these two teams all night. And as you would expect, again, we've been setting the table. These are the two in-state rivals of the Arena League. No love lost whatsoever between these two. Martinez caught inside the 5, hit a couple of times up against the wall. As he spikes the ball out of frustration. Good recovery by Nasir Greer on the bench. Now looking at what the Goats want to do here. Still plenty of downs to work with. It's 2nd and goal. Got to get a new ball. There it is. It's almost a pick of who could potentially score this touchdown if the Goats do it. That's a face mask. Trujillo throws in the end zone on the free play. And it works out on a touchdown.
So we're going to have a face mask back behind the play.
And that's going to be Ryan Martinez as he gets his first touchdown tonight, and only his 4th catch rather.
But it does mean that all 4 of their top 4 receivers have now scored.
Yes, and that's touchdown number 8 tonight for Angelo Trujillo.
Well, and there will actually be a foul against St. Joseph, so it's offsetting penalties. So every last thing we just told you is a lie, and we are liars.
We're liars.
It's on our business card.
Unintentional liars, but, you know. So let's do it again from the 4. Trujillo to the end zone. Looking for Martinez again, but he can't connect.
Well, that's just good sportsmanship from the quarterback. Sorry they took your touchdown away,
Let me
Ryan.
try to get you
Here's
again.
another one.
There you go. Martinez, 6 receptions, 104 yards. He had a rushing touchdown on 2 attempts in the game last week. Still looking, again, he had it a few moments ago, but had it taken away on the offsetting penalties. His first receiving touchdown tonight. Let's see if Trujillo goes to him again. Instead, it's to Booth Smith, who makes a cut. Booth Smith hard into the wall right at that gate to get in and out of that sideline. And the Goats now down to their last chance here on this possession. About 3 minutes left to go in the game. A winner is already decided. Just got to figure out what the final score is going to be. Trujillo surveys, throws. And you know what? Why not to Don Marshall again? Have yourself a night. A man from Valdosta, Georgia.
I mean, his team is going to win by at least 40 points, it looks like, but you almost have to feel bad for Ryan Martinez there in that sequence. Come on, Dom, you didn't need another one. Helped out his quarterback, though, got himself open, came back toward the middle of the field. Now we'll see on the 1-point conversion.
Avoiding some rushers, shovels to his right, taken in by Ely, who's met, still stretching out, and he's going to be just short. Aim for effort nonetheless for A.D. Ely.
Another Missouri sports reference there as he comes up 1 yard short. 2:27 left to go. Gotta love the effort at the end of the play by Ely, just barely unable to get there. Great job, open field tackle by Lutton.
If Lutton doesn't make that hit, I think for sure he definitely gets in. That was, when you want to look up at videos of open field tackling, how to do it properly, Diedrich Lutton, that was a good example of it right there. 77-38, 2:27 left to go in this ball game. I had mentioned in that first half that the Goats had 50 going into halftime, but maybe do they get to the century mark tonight? Well, I don't think they're going to get there, but still 77 and counting. They could still add on to it. Points put up after having 40 last week. I think the offense is definitely back up to their prominent firepower that they've had in the past 2 seasons, and pairing with this pass rush on defense, it is all coming up pretty good for the hometown St. Joseph Goats here in Arena League play. Another helmet gets ripped off. That's going to be a penalty on the Goats. Emery Bryant looking around and saying, hey, there's got to be a flag on that, right? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that was at least 2 face mask penalties on the same ball carrier. He had a hand all the way inside the back of his helmet. Someone had the bottom of his face mask. They popped the thing off. We'll get the official call of it. And the Ozarks will have fairly decent field position here.
First down and 10 for the Lunkers after the 15-yard
Goats on their way to going 2-0. They avoid the slow start they had last year where they went 1-3. They were able to finish strong going 4-1 in the back half of the season, but it went to the final week where they were needing the Wise Guys to lose a game. Well, the Goats won on the road at Eau Claire, and both teams ended up winning, so that left the Goats out of the playoffs. Like we said, this is a team that we knew was going to be coming in highly motivated this year, and they're showing it. 2-minute 40 here in the 4th quarter. St. Joseph on their way to moving to 2-0 in Arena League play here in the 2026 season. 77-38, 2 minutes left to go before we wrap it up here in St. Joseph, Missouri. The Goats up big over their in-state rivals, on their way to going to 2-0 while moving the Lunkers down to 1-1. And another high snap. This has been a problem all night long for the Lunkers. Mike Reynolds diving out there late for the Goats. Getting on top of Terry Jones as they both talk it out and saying unintentional on my end, no harm, no foul. Reynolds says to Jones here as he tried to poke it out there late, believing it was still a live ball.
It's possible that Terry Jones might dispute the no harm thing.
At least they both got together as to say, hey, we're cool, you know. No pushing, no shoving, although I don't think I'd be wanting to push and shove with big number 55 out there for the Goats either. The former Kansas Jayhawk, Mike Reynolds, says that'll go off the fingertips and incomplete. And the only returning starter on this defense for St. Joseph. And Aaron, is it even more impressive thinking about how dominant this defense has been, considering that Mike Reynolds is the only returning piece from this defense from a season ago?
Well,
I think it definitely does.
It certainly does, but obviously Coach Golston went out and made it a priority to find some guys to run the defense that he wants to run. That has been the biggest consistency here for St. Joseph, is they've kept Coach Golston and his vision, and he has found the athletes finally in place to bring it to life.
Jones on a long third down play, bobbled and hit the ground. It will be incomplete. Taking it to the house anyways is Ja'Kalen Jackson.
See if we don't have good vision on it here. See if that thing kissed the carpet at all. Bounces off the hands, tipped. Oh,
not quite an immaculate interception there, to say the least, but
sorry, Ja'Kalen, but that is the most incomplete a pass has ever been.
And the Lunkers, this is kind of really them waving the white flag. On fourth down, they'll surrender on the doorstep of their own end zone. So we'll go down to the other end of the field, and the final seconds, Goats could just milk this one away. Again, they'll move to 2-0, and that sets up a big matchup next week on the road in Waterloo as they'll take on the Iowa Woo next Saturday, June 13th, starting at 7 p.m. right here on the Arena League YouTube channel. For the Lunkers next week, they'll be back home taking on the Memphis Hound Dogs.
It'll actually be the only week next week for St. Joseph in the month of June that they will be on the road.
Yes.
It's going to be a busy home stretch.
Followed it back-to-back home games, the final 2 Saturdays of June, and then they'll have one home game in July. That weekend of July 11th, they'll be here against the Iowa Woo, and then if they play any more, it'll be in August, and it'll be in the postseason. And so far, the front runners of the Arena League, it's the St. Joseph Goats as they move to 2-0, a dominant 77-38 win. Fans counting it down here like it's New Year's Eve. And the Goats are officially 2-0. And the Lunkers will drop to 1-1. The matchup of the Missouri teams going to St. Joseph. Just dominance, all 3 phases tonight, offense, defense, even the special teams getting in there, making some plays. And the Goats putting on a show for the first time in front of their home fans here for this 2026 season. We'll wrap it up when we return here on the Arena League YouTube channel. 77-38 final score as the Goats win big. Wrapping it up here tonight from the Civic Arena. Final score 77-38. St. Joseph moving to 2-0 in Arena League play. Dylan Funk and Aaron Feely in the broadcast booth. We thank you all for watching along with us here tonight as, again, Aaron, from the very, maybe not the exact first play because it started with a pick six for Ozark, but shortly after that, the Goats got it together on offense. Defense was locked down solid as they were back in week one, and they just blew the doors off of a shorthanded Lunkers team to end this second week victorious and going to 2-0.
That they did. We thought that maybe the issue was going to be, as you said, the Ozark defense trying to match up with this highly explosive and athletic Goats offense. And to an extent, that did happen. It was a little bit better in the second half. But realistically, even with or without the injuries, there was nothing that was going to stop this Goats pass rush from just taking over this football game. 2 weeks in a row now, the Goats have come out here with this. I mean, it was somewhat of a innovative style of defense that they've put in here, because for the first 2 years, no one had really adapted a blitz-first mentality defensively. They were playing it very traditionally Arena League, where you play back, trust your athletes in space because you don't want to get beat by the big play. Well, the Goats, Coach Dorsey Colston, obviously took a look at the running rules from these quarterbacks, realized that if you can keep him inside those hash marks in your blitz, he can't burn you with those exterior runs the way he can in most football leagues. It's been a brilliant strategy to this point. It has hemmed in a lot of these opposing quarterbacks, and through 2 weeks, neither of their opponents have had an answer to it. I will be curious to see how that will continue to go as the season wears on and as coaches continue to study up on it. But to this point, he might have found a loophole right now, because this blitz-first defense, it has looked like some legendary stuff down there.
Like I said, just 2 weeks in, but definitely the Goats looking like the front runners of this 2026 season so far. That'll do it for us here tonight on the Arena League YouTube channel. A highly anticipated matchup going in favor of the Goats. There's that pick six early that started things for the Lunkers, but shortly after that, the Goats got it figured out, and they were off and running and never even looked back. Alongside my broadcast partner, Aaron Feely, the rest of our entire outstanding crew here at the Civic Arena in St. Joseph, Missouri. I'm your play-by-play broadcaster, Dylan Funk, signing off here in your home of the Goats and your home of the Arena League. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Goats back at home on June 20th, taking on Nebraska. They take on Iowa next week. The Lunkers back in action next week as well. Back at home against the Memphis Hound Dogs. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody, and good night from St. Joseph, Missouri.